subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Naruto landed, he followed Sasuke's example, turned around with one hand on the ground and kicked Kakashi in the waist. There is no martial ethics at all. Kakashi's eyelids twitched when he saw it, and he moved his steps and easily dodged the short leg attack. In my heart, I lamented that this child had no eyesight at all. Does touching his waist mean to ruin his happiness for the rest of his life? Hey, Uncle Bai Mao, you have been fooled. At this time, a yellow-haired figure suddenly appeared behind Kakashi. Was that a clone just now? When? Kakashi was really shocked. Obviously, they had just arrived here. When did Naruto form the seal? The clone Naruto punched Kakashi on the waist, but he didn't feel any touch on his hand. Bang, Kakashi was hit and turned into a wooden stake on the spot, obviously using a substitute technique. Naruto was stunned for a moment, and suddenly realized that there was such a bug in ninjutsu. Boo-hoo-hoo, more than a dozen shurikens aimed at Naruto's vitals and flew through the air. Needless to say, Kakashi's throwing skills were no less than those of the Uchiha clan. Naruto felt that there was a high probability that he would not be able to block all the shurikens. So he simply covered his face with his hands and rushed in the direction of Kakashi. Kakashi was stunned for 2 seconds when he saw this scene. What the hell is going on with this kid? You hide for a while. How can anyone rush up against the enemy's shuriken? Kakashi's scalp felt numb at the sight. What kind of animal is this? Even if you have strong recovery ability, you can't play like this. Sure enough, the unprepared Naruto's hands, feet, back, and shoulders were pierced by shurikens, and blood gradually oozed from his black clothes. Fortunately, Kakashi kept his hand and did not throw out all the shurikens in the ninja bag. Otherwise, the child would probably be stabbed like a hedgehog. Naruto gritted his teeth, feeling that the pain in his body was still within his tolerance. Here I would like to praise teacher Gio's teaching. If it hadn't allowed him to undergo pain tolerance training before, he might not have been able to withstand Kakashi's attack. At the moment when Kakashi was stunned, Naruto raised his hand and took out the big iron door, grabbed the end of the iron door with both hands, and swung at Kakashi's head with a blast. Call! Kakashi was in great danger. If he was F-ed like this, he would have to go to the hospital for 10 days and a half. But Naruto's attack was still too immature, so Kakashi lowered his head and dodged over, then took a few steps back to distance himself from the child. It can't be done without pulling it apart. He now has a rough understanding of the strength of Naruto. That big iron gate, no matter how you look at it, it weighs 100 pounds, right? He had no doubt the kid could hurt himself. Moreover, when Naruto came here before, he said that he would let him instruct him in taijutsu. Kakashi is not shameless enough to use Chunin techniques to bully this child. After a failed attack, Naruto put away the big iron door and then pulled out the shuriken on his body while sucking in the cold air. Because he found that these shurikens stuck on his body greatly affected the healing of his wounds. Kakashi saw Naruto treating his wounds and did not take this opportunity to attack, but just watched indifferently. However, my heart has begun to feel a little numb. What the hell is going on with this kid? He watched as Naruto's wounds healed as soon as he removed the shuriken. What kind of animal is this? Jingle Bell, the shuriken, made a crisp sound when it fell to the ground. Naruto's little face was alert, his hands were in an offensive posture, and his steps moved slightly. It's time for Bai Mao to see how many roads there are in Foshan. Ada, Naruto screamed and rushed toward Kakashi. But Kakashi glanced at it and found that this kid's offense couldn't be said to have any structure. It could be said to be full of flaws. With a slight sigh, Kakashi decided to get serious. He disappeared from the spot with a teleportation technique, leaving Naruto stunned and suddenly forgetting what he was supposed to do. The next second, Naruto felt his shoulders being grabbed and he was pushed to the ground before his eyes. Naruto remembered to analyze the opponent's intelligence when fighting against the enemy. Don't rush in. After Kakashi finished speaking, he let go of his hand and pulled Naruto up, who was on the ground. To be honest, Naruto's mind really didn't turn around. Although he has begun to refine chakra, he has no combat experience at all. What's more, Kakashi suddenly used the teleportation technique just now. It took less than 2 seconds from the time he disappeared to when he was pressed to the ground. It really broke through Naruto's knowledge in his previous life. After all, he still relies on the way of thinking in his previous life for most of his current battles. To put it bluntly, he has not yet adapted to his own strength. In terms of strength, he can indeed fight with normal adult ninjas, but when it comes to reaction and coping skills, he is not the least bit poor. Kakashi saw the frustrated expression on Naruto's face and couldn't help but offer words of comfort. Why didn't you use that purple light door just now? Naruto was stunned, scratched his head, and began to regret. Yes, how come I just forgot about it? This feeling is like when playing games in the previous life. It was common for me to be too nervous when playing in a group and forget to press flash. Kakashi held his forehead and said helplessly, "You can also use that technique when I throw the shuriken at you." Yes. Naruto's eyes widened and he shouted while slapping his thighs. Isn't this just a reflection of all the opponent's attacks? And not only shurikens, but also ninjutsu that can be used to deal with enemies. Kakashi is such a genius. I understand. Uncle Kakashi, try using ninjutsu on me. Kakashi, can you please stop playing so big? I can't block the shuriken, but I can resist it. But ninjutsu, if you don't have time to use the time and space ninjutsu, then something will really happen. Naruto, I know your physique is different from ordinary people, but you can't do this. Come on. Uncle, just use fire style. Can you use the great fireball technique? Is this child listening to me? Kakashi shook his head and sighed, and finally agreed to his request. But at the beginning, he still gave a warning. If you don't have time to use it, run away immediately, you know? Okay, let's get started. Naruto didn't take Kakashi's statement to heart at all. After all, the great fireball technique does not harm anyone with a name. If he is going to be injured by this technique, he will not be called Uzumaki Naruto today. Chapter 22 Time and Space Ninjutsu is so strong. Why are you doing martial arts? Kakashi's hands flew, and he completed the seal in the blink of an eye. Fire style, great fireball technique. Naruto suddenly felt the surrounding temperature rise suddenly, and then saw Kakashi spit out a fireball about 2 meters in diameter. But to be honest, he was quite curious whether the ninjas who use fire-style ninjutsu had very loud voices. Naruto. Kakashi saw Naruto standing there in a daze and quickly reminded him. But in his heart, he once again lamented that this child has a big heart. The attack almost reached my face. Do you still have time to zone out? When Naruto came back to his senses, his pupils reflected the light of the fire. Facing this kind of supernatural power for the first time, he still subconsciously felt nervous. Kakashi on the side saw Naruto and had not yet taken action. He was already ready to use the teleportation technique to save the child. But he thinks the problem shouldn't be big. After the fireball hit Naruto, it was estimated that within a few minutes, he would be alive and kicking again. Naruto waved his hands, and the next second, a purple cocoon of light appeared in front of him again. The fireball roared through the light cocoon, and then Kakashi's face suddenly lit up with purple light, and the great fireball appeared instantly. He really wants to curse. It's okay. Why are you leaving me so close? Fortunately, Kakashi reacted very quickly. He leaned back, and the fireball flew past his scalp. If he were even a second late, Kakashi's hair would suffer. Good. Kakashi's tone was calm, but Naruto could also hear the excitement in it. This method of transferring ninjutsu can be said to be very beautiful. And as far as he knew, there is currently no method similar to Naruto's in the entire ninja world. Uncle, continue. Let's do something awesome. After seeing that he successfully transferred the great fireball, Naruto's face was full of excitement, and now he really wanted to try if he could transfer other ninjutsu. He had seen that Kakashi was not as relaxed as he was dodging the great fireball just now. Naruto instantly realized the power of Space Gate transfer ninjutsu. And this is not just as simple as transferring ninjutsu. He can also transfer Tailed Beast Jade and even Truth-Seeking Ball. As long as there is any means of attack trajectory, he can use the Space Gate to transfer. That's really, if you hit me, you hit yourself. At this time, Naruto was as happy as a child who just got a new toy. Seeing him like this, Kakashi didn't know whether he should be happy that the child had finally turned his attention away from taijutsu, or whether he should be happy that the child would not become a reckless man in the future. You and Nine-Tails Jinchuriki Chakra is like the sea. Play martial arts with the enemy. And Kakashi also wanted to see where the limits of Naruto's technique were. Good. He nodded and began to form seals on the spot. When Naruto saw Wu opening the half-heaven seal, he immediately understood what technique he was going to use. 44 seals. It's really rare to see so many ninjutsu seals in the ninja world. Water-style water dragon bullet. Along with Kakashi's seal, the water in the river began to slowly gather around the two of them, and in the blink of an eye, a water dragon more than 20 meters tall appeared above Kakashi's head. It opened its ferocious mouth and rushed straight towards Naruto. It could be said to be huge and oppressive. Naruto looked at the size of the water dragon and felt something was wrong. The size of the space door is at most 2 meters high and about 1 meter wide. It seems that it can't fit this big guy, right? Although he was confused in his heart, he kept moving his hands, first throwing a space door in front of him. In order to prevent the water dragon from being unable to be transferred, Naruto specially placed one behind him. After he was done, he leaned back and fell into the purple light cocoon and disappeared. Zila at the moment when the water dragon collided with the space door. Because the water dragon was too large, it was impossible to fully enter. But with the powerful impact, the water dragon weakened its body and splashed water. The moment the light cocoon closed, the water dragon that appeared in the open light cocoon by the river was only 1/5 of its original size. Needless to say, the power is definitely much smaller than before. This attack seemed a bit fierce. Naruto did not open the space door directly next to Kakashi. What really happened? Wouldn't it be that I won't have Junin to lead the team in the future? However, the effect of the transferred ninjutsu is indeed somewhat unsatisfactory. It seems that the ninjutsu that is too broad will be reduced after the transfer. Kakashi didn't know when he pulled off his blindfold and stared at Sharingan. Naruto didn't take what he said to heart. You must know that all ninjutsu in the ninja world generally follow the rules. The smaller the ninjutsu, the more powerful it is. Well, except for Susanna and Daibutsu. The space gate can be regarded as both offensive and defensive to a certain extent, so there is nothing left to be dissatisfied with. You know, there's still many cheats on him. Naruto, use it again. Kakashi pinched his right hand, and Naruto guessed that this guy was going to use his signature ninjutsu Chidori. Naruto nodded, and once again threw a space door to the side. Zitsidi at the same time, the electric light in Kakashi's hand flashed, and chirping sounds were heard all around, making Naruto's brain hurt. He covered his ears with his hands and watched as Kakashi rushed into the space door with blue light, and then appeared 10 meters away. Yes, it can also be used to assist teammates in attacking. Kakashi canceled Chidori, put on his blindfold, and said with some emotion, Naruto's ability is very strategic. Not only can you use this ability to escape and chase enemies, but you can also use it to attack, dodge, and assist teammates in coordinated operations. After figuring out Naruto's ability, Kakashi's expression became even stranger. You said you have this ability? Also practice some physical skills with a ball. Uncle, do you want to continue? No, my chakra is limited. Seeing the other party say this, Naruto suddenly showed a look of disdain. Okay, I only released 3 ninjutsu, and it's already empty? Naruto was really curious about how much chakra Kakashi had, so he started asking the fox in his belly. Big Fox, look at how much chakra Kakashi has. Kurama, who was sealing the space, didn't even raise his eyelids and said calmly, 30 demons. What? It's less than 1/3 of mine? Naruto was a little shocked after hearing Kakashi's chakra. Then he realized that it was a bit too much for him to use his own chakra amount to measure other people's chakra. What nonsense are you talking about? Kid, your chakra yesterday was already 150 magic. What the fox said shocked Naruto again. Now he feels that he is abnormal. If he continues to grow like this, he may really be on par with first Hokage. But the most important thing now is to find a way to get the inspiration for 8 Gates Duinjia from Kakashi. It would be best to take a look at the operation route of 8 Gates Duinjia so that he can get inspiration from it and then modify the technique to be more suitable for him. Uncle Kakashi. Kakashi had just squatted down to rest, and before he could take out the kissing paradise, he heard Naruto calling him. Well, I'm studying a technique recently. It is to compress the chakra in the body to enhance strength and speed. What is this kid talking about? Kakashi looked strange after hearing this. Is there a possibility that this technique is called 8 Gates Duinjia? Stop studying. There's a forbidden technique in the village called 8 Gates Duinjia, which has this effect. Although he didn't know where Naruto came up with those fantastic ideas, Kakashi still patiently explained. Also, he felt that there was no need for Naruto to practice 8 Gates Dungeon. If you have this time, it is better to think about how to use the large amount of chakra in your body. But Kakashi realized that just as he said this, the child was squatting next to him and looking at him eagerly. He didn't speak and just watched from the side. Forget it, just tell him. So, Kakashi slowly stood up under Naruto's expectant eyes. Seeing him like this, Naruto felt that his forbidden technique was stable. Chapter 23, How did this kid become so good? Stand still. Kakashi still looked like a salty fish, and after asking Naruto to stand up, he started pointing at him. Naruto felt a little itchy as he was being clicked here and there and moved around uncontrollably, which made Kakashi almost get violent and beat the child. Here and here, that's pretty much it. Chakra follows this route, and you can break through the gate of opening. Of course, if you want to use 8 Gates Duinjia, you must have a long-term physical training process. Naruto tried several times according to the running route Kakashi said, but found that it couldn't run at all. Not to mention opening the first gate of 8 Gates Duinjia. Gate of opening. It's just as Kakashi said. When Naruto was running it just now, he found that the meridians in his body were somewhat blocked, and the chakra was getting stuck one after another. He roughly understood the 8 Gates Duinjia thing. Normal practice should be to widen the meridians in the body and enhance the body's endurance, and finally use the 8 Gates Duinjia. Naruto's hardware is enough now, but the software in his body is fragmented. How can he run the program 8 Gates Duinjia? But, originally, he had no intention of learning 8 Gates Duinjia. Uncle, how long does it take to learn this? Naruto still asked more questions. After all, when I read those fan works in my previous life, the protagonists in those books started training 8 Gates Duinjia from a young age, and it seemed very easy. But Naruto believed that if this technique was not difficult to practice, it would have been popularized long ago so that civilian ninjas could learn it. It would not be listed as a forbidden technique by Konoha. If it's fast, it's 1 year. If it's slow, it's 2 or 3 years. But I don't recommend you go down this road. Kakashi stared, looking very serious. Things like 8 Gates Duinjia are only suitable for those who specialize in physical arts and cannot be practiced by people who use ninjutsu, because the chakra accumulated through daily exercise needs to be used to break through the obstacles of the door in the body. This is also the reason why he only practiced 8 Gates Duinjia. After all, his Sharingan cannot be turned off and consumes chakra. The chakra used to open the first door is just enough. If he continued to practice 8 Gates Dungeon, Kakashi would probably have exhausted all his chakra and died as soon as he entered the 8 Gates Dungeon state. Naruto's chakra is indeed enough, but it's not necessary. You must know that practicing 8 Gates Duinjia takes a lot of time. This kid wants to practice 8 Gates Duinjia. Kakashi estimated that 3rd generation would hang him up and beat him. It takes so long. Naruto was still a little disappointed after hearing this. It takes several years to open one, which is really a bit useless for me. You haven't tested your chakra yet, right? He decided to lead the kid onto the right path of specializing in ninjutsu. No need to practice physical skills to death all day long. Kakashi took out a chakra test strip from somewhere and placed it in front of Naruto's eyes. Try it. Chakra test strips? After Naruto took it, he looked around, wanting to see what the difference was about this thing. But after looking at it for a while, I realized that I couldn't see the reason at all. Kakashi saw that Naruto was about to fold the chakra test paper into a plane, put one hand on his forehead, sighed, and gave a reminder. Put chakra in there. Oh, Naruto gave up the idea of folding the plane and listened to Kakashi's words and entered chakra into the test paper. In fact, he knows without trying, if there are no big surprises, based on the knowledge in the animation of the previous life, my chakra attributes seem to be wind and earth. Tear. As Naruto entered chakra, the test paper first cracked and then shattered. Wind and earth. Kakashi looked at it and murmured, and Naruto had finally confirmed his chakra attribute. Naruto, on the other hand, looked like he was in a daze. Big Fox. Can lightning style stimulate cells to temporarily increase strength? Yes, what are you asking for? Kurama was a little confused when he heard Naruto's question in the sealed space. I'm thinking, didn't you, kid, just listen to what my mouse said? Your chakra attributes are wind and earth. Where does thunder come from? Is there a possibility I can do it with wind escape? Naruto thought about it and wondered how something like wind release could achieve similar effects, right? Although it can't stimulate the cells in the body like lightning style, wind release should be able to bring up a gust of wind around oneself and increase one's speed, right? Naruto, who has received 9 years of compulsory education, also understand a truth. That is, the faster the speed, the greater the mass. Speed power, idiot. Kurama scoffed disdainfully. This kid is simply whimsical. Although it doesn't know much about ninjutsu, it also knows that it is impossible. Naruto didn't take Kurama's taunt to heart. After all, how could a native like Big Fox have such a brain that has been baptized by the explosion of information? There were many wind-related skills in various movies and games in previous lives. Naruto ignored the fox inside him and the beeping Kakashi outside. He stood there and recalled the scroll that third generation had given him before, and began to condense the wind attribute chakra. While concentrating, he also thought of the gate of opening meridian pointed out by Kakashi just now. Kakashi didn't say anything about using chakra to break through the door just now. What kind of reaction would you have if you charged with the wind attribute? Thinking of this, Naruto became a little excited to give it a try. Does this count as a self-innovated ninjutsu? However, Naruto had no idea that Kakashi had only given a rough outline of the gate of opening route just now. Kakashi looked at Naruto in a daze and didn't pay too much attention. He took out Xiao Lu Bei and leaned against the tree and began to read carefully. About 5 minutes passed. Kakashi suddenly noticed that the wind was blowing around him. At first he didn't pay much attention, but after a few minutes he noticed that strong winds were gradually blowing around him. Turning his head to look around, he saw a strong wind blowing from Naruto's body. Naruto, stop it. At this time, Naruto had gathered a large amount of wind attribute chakra, and it was still gathering. The clothes on his body were blown rustling, and the grass on the ground began to be torn apart by the wind attribute chakra. It's okay that Kakashi didn't remind him. Naruto's wind attribute chakra condensed faster when he was reminded. Tear, along with the sound of tearing, Naruto's clothes were torn open several times, and there was a trace of blood mist. Uncle, I can't seem to stop. It's hard to describe Naruto's current state. It is indeed feasible to use the wind attribute chakra to break through the door. And every time he passed a level, Naruto found that his strength had increased a lot. The only strange thing was that he could clearly hear his own heart beating loudly. But he thinks it shouldn't be a big problem. The only thing that gives Naruto a headache is he doesn't know how to stop. The moment the wind attribute chakra began to impact the meridians, the chakra in his body surged out uncontrollably. The wind attribute chakra became stronger and stronger, creating strong winds around Naruto, bringing up a cloud of dust, and the visual range dropped rapidly. Kakashi's hair was blown wildly by the strong wind. He covered his face with his hands and worked hard to walk towards Naruto, the child. There is no way. Now Naruto's wind attribute chakra is no less powerful than wind release and gale palm. Kakashi pulled off the blindfold and used the Sharingan to observe the situation inside Naruto's body. It's okay if you don't watch it. Kakashi almost died of fear after watching it. The chakra in Naruto's body is obviously going out of control. You should know that this situation will only occur when the research fails ninjutsu, and this situation will often cause the caster to be torn to death by the out-of-control chakra. Besides, he also heard Naruto's heartbeat. Kakashi roughly estimated the frequency of this heart beating, at least more than 500 beats per minute. You must know that a normal person's heart beats more than 300 and is about to die suddenly. However, Naruto, who stood in the eye of the wind, did not realize the seriousness of the problem at all, and instead became happy because he used the wind-release chakra to clear several of the levels Kakashi mentioned. Naruto shouted excitedly to Kakashi, "Uncle, I seem to have successfully opened the first door." "What did you say?" Kakashi lost his temper and shouted. His whole body felt bad. "No, I didn't tell you the detailed route just now. How on earth did you drive it?" Before Kakashi was shocked for long, a large amount of blood mist was brought up on Naruto by the wind escape. From the outside, it seemed that Naruto, the child, had become a bloody man with dense wounds all over his body. However, these pains were nothing to Naruto. Now, he only feels that he is terrifyingly strong. He lightly moved his legs and appeared 50 meters away in the blink of an eye, with a red afterimage trailing behind him. Kakashi's eyes widened. What the hell? Did he really make it? Kurama in the sealed space was also shocked and stopped eating. What is this kid doing? Chapter 24 Nine-Tails Jinchuriki almost crashed to death on barriers. Kurama had a good time grilling meat in the sealed space. How can he know that this kid really did what he said just now? Can you study something like ninjutsu blindly? Even if Kurama doesn't know how to use ninjutsu, he knows that researching ninjutsu will lead to death if he is not careful. Not to mention Naruto, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, the 10-Tails Jinchuriki made chakra and went berserk, ending up with a burp. However, not only did this kid not die on the spot, he actually got something out of him. This is what shocked Kurama. Although it could feel the kid's vitality declining rapidly, at the same time its tailed beast chakra was repairing Naruto's body uncontrollably. As one goes and the other goes, Naruto really won't die for a while. Kakashi felt that he had never been so out of control in his life. What kind of monster is this kid? Follow the chakra running route he gave to open the 8 gates Duinjia. It's okay if you don't die. He had never thought that this would happen before. Besides, Kakashi felt that Naruto would be torn apart by the violent chakra sooner or later if he continued like this. There's no good piece of meat on his body now. If he hadn't recovered quickly, he would have died when he used this technique just now. How could he be able to move like he is now? Naruto could not hear Kakashi's words at this time. His ears were filled with the sound of wind. Naruto estimated that his current strength should be about 3 times that of his normal state. Both speed and strength have increased significantly. I just don't know why chakra is consumed so quickly. If Kurama wanted to know what this kid was thinking, he would have to complain about Naruto. If this kid hadn't had a lot of chakra himself, and he would have taken the tailed beast chakra to repair his body. Just wait to die. Too strong. Naruto actually doesn't have a specific idea of his own strength now, and he has never seen what kind of powerful spell 8 gates Duinjia is when it is used. Anyway, he just feels that he is very strong now. Naruto glanced at the woods ahead and immediately thought of a way to test his strength. He slowly leaned down, put his hands on the ground, and made a starting posture ready to test his limits. Uzumaki Naruto! Stop it. Kakashi was really scared to death by seeing him like this. Third generation promised to watch Naruto carefully, who knew this child could always give him something different to play with. When Naruto moved just now, he used Sharingan to see that Naruto's body had reached its limit. Now look at him like this. You still want to test your speed with all your strength? Please don't do it. Kakashi doesn't want to see Naruto's body for a while, nor does he want to hear the news of the death of Nine-Tails Jinchuriki of Konoha Village tomorrow. If third generation knew that he was raising a child to death, something big would happen to him. Boom! As soon as Kakashi finished speaking, he heard a loud noise in his ears, and then saw Naruto dragging out a red light and flying out, destroying everything along the way, and all obstacles in his way were directly removed. Moreover, Naruto's position just now has been stepped into a big hole. This level is comparable to Tsunade's strange power. Kakashi covered his face and sighed helplessly. It's over, we've caused big trouble. He had already begun to think about the future when he went to the Pure Land and was pushed to the ground by his teacher and his wife and beaten. At this time, the third generation had just finished lunch at home and were walking on the streets of Konoha with their hands behind their backs. When he went back at noon, he happened to see Naruto and Kakashi studying ninjutsu, which made him extremely happy. Good thing, the kid finally stopped practicing taijutsu. Kakashi is really a very reliable ninja. Third generation was in a very good mood today, and I even ate an extra bowl when I went back. Boom, suddenly, there was a loud noise from the east of the village. Third generation's eyes widened, and several of them appeared on the roof. What happened? Umbu also appeared around third generation at this time. They looked at each other, and no one dared to speak first. The third generation looked at their hesitant expressions and instantly shouted at them with a straight face. Say it. Is it Kumogakure or a Wagakure? Huh, that's too much. How dare you attack our village during peacetime? Third generation didn't even have to think about it. Such a big movement was most likely caused by Kumogakure's group of reckless men. That third generation sama, it's nine tails Jinchuriki. Cough, cough, cough. What did you say? Third generation got really angry, but you told me that it was your family that did it? This kid is making such a big fuss. Could he be defecting? After thinking for 2 seconds and realizing that he had no clue, third generation decided to go and see for himself. He went in the east direction and found that trees and buildings were constantly being destroyed. Third generation even began to wonder if the tailed beast was out of control. The Umbu ninjas of Konoha village rushed towards Naruto's direction at the same time, and many Chunin and Root ninjas rushed over. For no other reason, it was this red figure that was already rushing towards the barriers of the village. It's so cool. I'm so fierce. Naruto, who was running wildly, found that his speed was too fast to be seen clearly with the naked eye. At this moment, he even felt like he had become the Flash. I ran out of the red tail band. Why can't it be counted? Dong, 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 dong. It's just that Naruto found that his heartbeat seemed to be getting faster and faster. Kid, there are many people coming in your direction. Naruto suddenly heard the fox in his belly say something. But now he couldn't see the surrounding scenery clearly, let alone see who was coming. Another point, because the speed was too fast now, Naruto could no longer control his body and could only keep running forward. Even if you have to stop and slow down gradually, it still takes a lot of time. Naruto, stop quickly. There are village barriers ahead. Uzumaki Naruto, stop it. All the ninjas in the entire Konoha village were here. The last time they all came out was on the night of the Nine Tails Rebellion. Third generation Sama. Kakashi suddenly appeared in front of third generation, with embarrassment written all over his face. He had seen the expression on third generation's face that seemed to say, "Is this how you take care of my child on horseback?" What happened? Naruto created a forbidden technique. It got out of control. He can't stop now. If we don't stop it, Naruto may die because of Chakra's rampage. After hearing this, third generation's blood pressure suddenly rose. He hurriedly began to fumble under his body, and then he realized that he didn't bring his anti-hypertensive medicine with him. What is Kakashi talking about? Aren't you guys practicing ninjutsu by the river at noon? Why on earth is it like this? I want to have a meal by myself. Why did I hear that Nine Tails Jinchuriki was about to die when I came up? Third generation took a deep breath. He felt like he was almost going to die now. Kakashi and Naruto are going to be so angry. Stop Naruto with defensive ninjutsu. Hitting barriers at this speed, I guess he didn't even wait until Chakra went berserk. He was killed first. With the third generation's order, the surrounding ninjas disappeared. At this moment, all the ninjas in Konoha village are united again. In order to prevent the Nine Tails Jinchuriki from the Leaf Village from crashing into the barriers. Earth-style wall. Water-style water barrier. Countless ninjas used defensive ninjutsu at the same time. In front of the barriers, earth walls were erected from the east barriers, and there were several water walls in front of the earth walls specifically to slow down Naruto. The scene was so grand that everyone in the village thought that an outside ninja village was attacking the village. Naruto, who was about to arrive at barriers, finally saw the scenery in front of him clearly, but from his perspective. Why is everything in the front blue? Just when it was making this noise, he suddenly noticed water splashing on his face. Then I heard BG sounds and the sound of bones breaking. Before he could even cry out in pain, Naruto fell to the ground, his eyes darkened, and he lost consciousness. Naruto hit 10 earth walls in a row before he stopped. Looking back at the route he took, this boy had plowed a ravine of about 10 meters on the east side of the village, and it was even more of a mess wherever he went. The third generation slowly walked up to Naruto with a stinking face. To be honest, he felt that the child would not survive. The third generation is so sad. While it can't bear Naruto's death, it also has a headache that it can't find a suitable Nine-Tails Jinchuriki in the village. This kid really can't survive. Then there's a high probability that Konoha village will lose Nine-Tails. Third generation feels that since the birth of Naruto, the situation in Konoha village has become worse day by day. He walked up to Naruto and found that the child was already taking in more air and outgoing less air. It was almost time to start the banquet. But third generation still has some hope in its heart. Immediately, a dozen medical ninjas surrounded Naruto and began to check the injuries. What's going on now? Third generation Sama. This child's bones are all broken, and the condition inside his body is even worse. His heart stopped. He has already. Just when the medical ninja was about to give Naruto the news of death, he suddenly heard the sound of the child's heart beating again in his ears. Wait, it seems he can still be saved. Chapter 25. You are the worst Jinchuriki I have ever brought up. 1 month later, Nine-Tails Jinchuriki of Konoha village is lucky to be alive. When the child was sent to the hospital, any medical ninja who looked at Naruto's condition would just shake his head and wave his hands. Everyone was sure that the child would not live long. But within a week, it was discovered that the patient's vital signs returned to normal. Then the hospital said that the child was an invalid. Judging from the broken bones all over his body, he would have to spend the rest of his life in the hospital. But a week later, the hospital not only found that all the bones in the child's body had recovered, but there were no scars on his body. The entire Konoha hospital began to doubt life. I wonder if I thought Konoha had created some medical miracle in the ninja world. Everyone has once again refreshed their understanding of this child's recovery ability. Konoha Hospital has been established since the Tsunade period, and most medical ninjas have survived from that era. They had seen the previous Nine-Tails Jinchuriki Uzumaki Kushina, and some had also seen the first Nine-Tails Jinchuriki Uzumaki Mido, to replace the previous 2 Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. And judging by Naruto's age and this kind of injury, they can start the meal directly. All in all, this Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is outrageous. Within the sealed space, Big Fox, when do you think I will wake up? Naruto was lying on the sofa, holding the barbecue he snatched from the fox in his left hand and a freshly chilled grape sparkling drink in his right hand. Since his coma, his consciousness has entered the sealed space. When Kurama saw Naruto, he immediately started trolling mode. It really wants to make this kid angry to death. Ninjutsu doesn't even know what he's doing. If his chakra hadn't held this kid's last breath, he would have gone to the Pure Land to meet Kushina Uzumaki by now. And my lifelong reputation will be destroyed in the hands of this kid. When he thought of Konoha Nine-Tails Jinchuriki crashing into the village barriers, Kurama felt that his chakra went straight to his head. If other tailed beasts knew about this, they would definitely laugh at themselves for the rest of their lives. You're the worst Jinchuriki I have ever seen. Naruto heard this and turned to look at the big fox, with shock written all over his face. Why do these words sound so much like what my class teacher said before? You're the worst class of students I have ever taught. Teacher Joe suddenly felt a sense of oppression. Train twice as soon as you recover. As an old man, Jinchuriki, you are too weak. I was much stronger than you when I was your age. Kurama started to teach his students while stroking the skewers. Naruto didn't know how to refute this guy after hearing this. You have a nerve to say it. Can you, a tailed beast, Compete with me when you're 6 years old? Naruto couldn't say anything to the big fox, as he was really afraid of angering the fox again. After Naruto finished eating, he found that his body had recovered a lot. The reason why he has a perverted recovery physique, in addition to the blood of the Uzumaki clan and the tailed beast chakra, is also inseparable from the fact that he has used the magic dragon meat that can restore the mind and body since he was a child. And within a month of coming in, Naruto found that even eating something in the sealed space would help his injuries. Big Fox, can't you give me a holiday? I haven't had a break since I started practicing chakra. Naruto thought about it and found that the life he was living now seemed to be even harder than when he was a social beast in his previous life. At least I could have 1 or 2 days of rest a month in my previous life. But Teacher Gio is different. There's no time to rest 7 days a week, and now I have to train myself even more while waiting for my injury to recover. He is still a child. Could you please consider the mental health of your children? Snort. Kurama ignored Naruto's protests. Become stronger. You kid mentioned it first. Besides, it's time for this kid to get out. Kurama stopped playing the skewers, glanced at Naruto, and said angrily, "Kid, look over there." Naruto saw the big fox pointing to the left and subconsciously turned his head to look. Then Kurama slapped him out of the sealed space. On the hospital bed, Naruto was wrapped like a mummy. His eyelids rolled, and he sat up from the bed suddenly. Too careless. When Naruto woke up, he gritted his teeth and shouted in his heart that the fox was despicable. He even drove him out of the sealed space while he wasn't paying attention. Originally, he was looking forward to waking up, but when he learned that he would have to practice more later, he really might as well fish in the sealed space. The sun shines through the window and shines on Naruto's face. Although it is not strong, Naruto still feels a little dazzling. Naruto raised his hand to cover his eyes slightly and looked out the window through the gap in his palm, feeling calm inside. It's great to be alive. He sighed and then noticed the bedside table filled with greeting cards and a fruit basket containing bananas and apples. After browsing for a while, I found that most of them were written by Hinata, a little Lolita, and there were also ones by Kakashi, as well as Shikamaru-chai, Inuzuka Kiba, Ino. Why are there even Sakura's ones? And he remembered that he didn't seem to have spoken to any of his classmates, right? Forget it. None of this matters anymore. Naruto casually picked up the apple in the fruit basket, wiped it on his clothes, and took a bite. But in the process, he discovered the patient in the bed next to him. Uchiha Sasuke. Why is he here? When Naruto saw Sasuke next to him, he was so surprised that he stopped eating the apple. And this guy looks a little bit dementia. Sasuke was lying on the bed, not unconscious, but with his eyes open, but his eyes were dull and empty, and his expression was dull, etc. Naruto's eyes suddenly widened, and he started eating apples again. Sasuke looks like this. The Uchiha clan was wiped out? Originally, he planned to say hello to Sasuke, but after realizing that Uchiha was exterminated, he decided not to do it. Maybe he might accidentally say something when he goes up now and irritate people again. However, Naruto sympathized with Sasuke. Once upon a time, the family lived happily. I don't know why my brothers were crazy, but they killed all the Uchiha clan, and he is also his favorite brother. It was indeed very painful. Throughout Sasuke's life, it seems that he is the only normal person in the ninja world. Instead, it's the prince from the original novel. It's really hard to put into words. Especially the scene where Black Zetsu laughs at Obito. He really lives in peace. This requires him to stand with Black Zetsu and ridicule Obito. And after that, he will also steal Obito's tribute every year. How can you come up with such a sentence as, "I don't allow you to laugh at Obito"? Naruto sighed at Sasuke's appearance. After all, I have had a fight with him, so I know one of the few people of his age. The only people of the same age that Naruto is familiar with in the whole village are Hinata and Uchiha Sasuke. He wanted to comfort the child now, but unfortunately, he didn't have the skills to speak other words. After thinking about it, Naruto took out a golden apple from his system. This thing can restore a little spirit and health. It's just that for Naruto, he has never eaten such a thing, and now he takes it out as a way to comfort this guy. Naruto first took out a set of clothes from the system and put them on, then tiptoed to Sasuke's bedside table and gently put the golden apple down. During the whole process, he didn't make any sound. Sasuke on the hospital bed was still staring at the ceiling in a daze. Seeing his appearance, Naruto didn't say anything, kept quiet, and left the ward. Only a few minutes after he left, Sasuke's eyes regained some sparkle. He turned to look at the golden apple on the cabinet and was stunned for a long time. Finally, he picked up the golden apple, buried his head deeply in the quilt, and murmured with a cry. Finished sentence. Uzumaki Naruto, thanks. Chapter 26. I hope Jiraiya can discipline this child well in the future. Have you heard? Ninetales Jinchuriki almost died in the barriers? No. I heard that he is going to commit suicide. In the end, they were stopped by the third generation and hundreds of ninjas. Why can't Ninetales Jinchuriki still think about it? As soon as Naruto walked out of the ward, he heard several nurses gathered around and started muttering. He was still talking about the Ninetales Jinchuriki of Konoha Village committing suicide, and then he was about to hit the barriers. There were all kinds of outrageous claims, and Naruto's face twitched when he heard them. He felt embarrassed and disgraced. It's all Hatake Kakashi's fault. Naruto didn't care how this matter was spread. Anyway, he felt that it was right to blame Kakashi for this. If Kakashi had stopped himself, this wouldn't have happened. Naruto was walking in the corridor of the hospital and found that people kept looking at him strangely, and they laughed at him while talking. It made Naruto want to find a gap in the ground and crawl in. I never thought that after keeping a low profile for so long, I would eventually become famous in the village in this way. In order to avoid being looked at strangely by the hospital as much as possible, Naruto found a place where no one was around, and then jumped down from the 5th floor. He didn't even consider that he had just recovered. The moment he landed, Naruto even felt that his physique was stronger than before. With his previous physique, even if he fell from the 5th floor, his feet would be sprained. But now there's nothing wrong with it. I seem to be going further and further on the road to perversion. Naruto sighed and walked aimlessly on the streets of Konoha. Third generation got the news that Naruto was discharged from the hospital, and their mood improved slightly, but they heard that the child jumped from the 5th floor of the hospital just after waking up. He felt his blood pressure rising again. Is there anyone who could take good care of this child? Anyway, he doesn't expect Kakashi to be optimistic about Naruto now. This time the Leaf Village came just short of losing the Ninetales Jinchuriki. The third generation's only hope now is to find Jiraiya, who is traveling abroad. After all, Jiraiya can be regarded as Naruto's father's teacher, and he will have no problem teaching Lousy. If he wants to teach Minato's son, he should be able to teach him with both hands. Third generation looked out the window and blew out a smoke ring. It looked like it had aged a lot during this time. Let's wait until Naruto graduates. There are still 5 years. It will pass after a while. When the time comes, bring Jiraiya back and take care of this child. Naruto-kun, are you okay? In the classroom, Hinata turned around and found her desk mate appearing in the classroom. Although she didn't say much, Naruto could feel the joy in this little girl Ryo's heart. Hinata-chan, thank you for the card. And fruit. No, it's nothing. After hearing Naruto's words, my sister-in-law Yang was so shy that she started to stutter again. Seeing her like this, Naruto grinned subconsciously. Then I thought about my previous date with Hinata. Some time ago, he and Hinata agreed to practice together after school, but later he went to find the green melon-skin uncle and stayed in the hospital for another month. I feel really bad that my sister-in-law was suddenly left in the cold for so long. This has to do with the fact that my ex-girlfriend from my previous life would miss him all day long if she was 10 minutes late for a date. Look at Hinata again. Not only did she not complain, she even went to the hospital to see herself from time to time. It can be seen from the fresh fruit on the bedside table in the ward. Hinata comes to see her very often. It can be said that Hinata is the most suitable candidate for Naruto's wife. Hinata, I'll pick you up after school. I promised you to practice together before. Hinata's head started to feel dizzy after hearing Naruto's first words. Pick me up for a date. Hey. Before Naruto could finish his words, Hinata fell down on the desk and passed out. This can't help Naruto. Why did the practice make her faint from embarrassment? He didn't understand, but when he saw his sister-in-law Yang fainted on the desk, he was a little worried that her neck would be uncomfortable when she woke up, so he took out a bare pillow from the system and gently raised her head to rest on the pillow. He doesn't care at all about the feelings of other students in the class, but the class was almost used to Naruto, a guy who often skipped classes. Everyone was surprised when Naruto Uzumaki came to the classroom. Irika on the stage watched the two guys flirting behind him, his head buzzing with anger. But it's hard for him to talk about these two guys. One is the eldest lady of the Hyuga clan in the village, and the other is the shadow of the village. Second generation. How does he manage this? Simply out of sight, out of mind, force yourself not to see. Anyway, third generation told him not to worry about that kid. After lunch, Naruto opened the space door and went home to have a meal and then returned to the small woods east of the village. The environment here was destroyed by a certain Jinchuriki, and only a few sparse trees were left in the forest before. As for the wooden house that the enthusiastic villagers built for Naruto, there is no trace of it. The fragments on the ground may prove that a small wooden house once existed here. It would be an understatement to say that this place is a garbage dump. It's a bit bad. Naruto glanced at it a few times before sighing at how destructive he was at that time. He was really at a loss in this situation now. How about changing to another place? He scratched his chin and muttered something to himself, but after thinking about it for a while, he found that it was a bit unreliable. It is conceivable that after the last time he lost control, his reputation in the village must have become worse than before. He really felt that it was a good thing that the village didn't ask him to compensate for the losses. I want to waste it somewhere else. Naruto was really worried that Konoha village would drive him out as a rebel ninja. After thinking for a while, I decided to tidy up the place. No matter what, it's your own fault, and you have to pay for it. It's all about farming anyway. And as a senior farming player, he is very familiar with this matter. Taking out a diamond axe from the system, Naruto raised the axe and took a look at the enchantment properties. Diamond axe, attack power 42, enchanting effect, cutting speed 70%, durability 1000/1000. Although this axe has a single enchantment attribute, its value can be said to be Naruto's highest so far. Moreover, the purpose of an axe is to chop down trees. So why does it do all the bells and whistles? Kid, it's training time. What are you doing with an axe? When Kurama saw Naruto arriving at the training ground, he started to remind him, but who knew that this kid also took out an axe? You can't use this as a weapon. I'll tidy up this place a little. Also, I shouldn't have to hammer the tree today, right? Naruto glanced at the few saplings around him, and the meaning of his words was obvious. Normally, those big trees are not big enough for him to beat for 3 days, but this small sapling, which is no bigger than his wrist, cannot interest him at all. Kurama thought what Naruto said made sense, pondered for a while, and then said to him, "Did you see those fallen trees on the ground? You can pull 3 trees and pick them up while you're carrying the weight." Naruto was speechless for a moment. Each of the trees that fell on the ground seemed to weigh about 200 pounds. You'd say it's okay to carry a heavy tree. Isn't it a bit difficult for the children to decorate 3 trees at once? Big Fox, why don't we discuss it? He also wanted to bargain with the fox, but he got no response from the big fox at all. Obviously, Teacher Gyo disagreed. With a slight sigh, Naruto took out a bundle of rope and began to weight himself. After finishing the work, he discovered that he had used a whole set of ropes to tie himself and the 3 trees firmly. But when he took the first step, his whole neck turned red, and he didn't take the first step. The 3 trees behind him seemed to have no intention of moving at all, and the axe in his hand is still half a meter away from the broken trees nearby. The third generation saw Naruto holding an axe through the crystal ball, dragging 3 trees behind him. He closed his eyes with difficulty, not daring to look any further. In the past, he had no problem beating trees, but he also tolerated demolition in the village. But what is this kid doing now? Is this a weight-bearing? Which ninja does this? Can't you buy some weight-bearing equipment? This kid, the third generation, didn't dare to think about it. Feeling that their blood pressure was rising again, so they quickly took out the antihypertensive medicine from the drawer and took it. He no longer wanted to use a crystal ball to see the child's condition. Third generation was really afraid that one day he would be so angry with Naruto that he would have a cerebral hemorrhage. Chapter 27, What the Hell? Why doesn't Jinjutsu work? That evening, Naruto untied the rope around his body and ended Teacher Gyo's weight-bearing training. It's just that the bad situation of the Grove is not good at all. Because he was dragging 600 to 700 kilograms of weight behind him, it took Naruto the entire afternoon to take a single step. Not to mention packing up at the same time. Looking at the mess around him, Naruto felt that he had to spend some time tidying up at night. It's a pity that I haven't learned the multiple shadow clone technique yet. Otherwise, it would be a matter of minutes to clean up here. After resting for a few minutes, Naruto threw the space door and returned to the classroom. At this time, Hinata was the only one left in the class, and she was a little excited to see Naruto arrive. Naruto-kun. Before Hinata could finish saying hello, Naruto held her little hand and pulled her into the space door. Then she felt her eyes blur, and the scene in front of her changed from the classroom to the outdoors. Seeing broken trees, gravel, and various garbage on the ground, Hinata looked at Naruto with some admiration. The situation at the scene all described Naruto's daily hard training. Naruto, you worked so hard. I will also work hard to practice. Hinata mustered up the courage to finally speak a complete sentence. She wants to keep up with Naruto and become stronger together with him. But suddenly he found that his hand was still being held by the other party, and he transformed into the Steam Girl again. Now that the resistance has become higher, in the past, there was a high probability that one would faint directly. Naruto saw his sister-in-law Ryo's shy look and quickly let go. Hearing her compliment, he smiled awkwardly. Ha ha ha. Actually, it's okay. It's okay. I practiced hard, but I almost demolished the village. Just when Naruto wanted to say something, he found a familiar figure walking towards his location. Just by looking at the Uchiha clan's signature prickly head, Naruto knew it was Sasuke. He was holding a paper bag in his hand, and his expression didn't look as stupid as before. Hinata glanced at Sasuke's figure and then at Naruto beside her, feeling a little disappointed for some reason. I thought I was with Naruto. Sasuke slowly walked up to Naruto, looking very embarrassed. He stuffed the paper bag into Naruto's arms regardless of whether he agreed or not. For you. Naruto looked down at the contents of the bag and realized they were apples. Is this kid giving himself a gift in return? I found no golden apples in the village. After Sasuke gave it away, he added, fearing that Naruto would dislike the apples he gave. He ate the golden apple at that time and obviously noticed that his mental state and injuries had recovered a lot. Naturally, you know that what the other party gives you is precious. Naruto grinned when he heard Sasuke's words, then rubbed an apple and handed it to Hinata and threw another one to Sasuke. Finally, he picked up an apple and ate it himself. Sasuke wasn't too particular, so he picked up the apple and started chewing it. To be honest, this was the first time for Naruto to receive a gift. Although it was just a very ordinary apple and was not as good as the things in his system, he still felt happy in his heart. However, as Naruto gnawed, he noticed that Sasuke was hesitant to speak. There was nothing hidden on the child's face. You came to me, what's wrong? While eating the apple given by others, Naruto's tone was not as aggressive as when he saw Sasuke before. In addition, he beat Sasuke violently before, and now he is sitting with others, and he feels a little embarrassed now. Uzumaki Naruto, let's fight again. Naruto was stunned, having no idea why Sasuke said that. Even if you open your eyes, you may not be able to beat me. Are you here to torture me? Even Hinata looked at Naruto curiously, because from what Sasuke said, it can be heard that they have fought against each other before. Hinata is also very curious about how strong Naruto is. Are you serious? Naruto found that Sasuke looked at him sincerely, and he could no longer see the pride he had when they first met. Does it seem that the night of genocide changed him? Naruto thought this child was quite miserable, but someone like him who had experienced peace in his previous life really couldn't understand how painful Sasuke was. Even after he came to this world, Naruto didn't see his parents clearly before they passed away. To say that there are feelings is a bit nonsense. Yes, I want to see the gap between us. Good. Naruto quickly finished the apple, then patted the dirt on his butt and stood up. The two communicated briefly and concisely, and within one sentence they had walked to the open space and stood facing each other. Since the night of genocide, Sasuke has calmed down and accepted the fact that he is weak, so that he can find his shortcomings and make up for them. Among his peers, Sasuke considered Naruto to be the strongest. In addition, I also know Uzumaki Naruto. The two looked at each other and formed the seal of opposition at the same time. The moment he raised his eyes, Sasuke had already activated the Sharingan. Naruto looked at the one Magatama and two Magatama in the other person's left eye, and for a moment he didn't know how to complain. On the night of the genocide, this kid only opened one Magatama, or one Magatama in his right eye, etc. Can't look into his eyes. After realizing that he couldn't look at Sharingan, Naruto turned his head to the side, feeling that it was not safe enough. So he even took out his sunglasses from the system and put them on. Big Fox, help me see where the other party is. Kurama, who sealed the space, raised his eyelids and ignored him. But Naruto knew that the Big Fox agreed. Wearing sunglasses, you can't tell whether you have closed your eyes or not. And he planned to rely on the Big Fox's reminder to fight Sasuke when facing the enemy, and then open his eyes and FK him when he appeared behind Sasuke. Sasuke was stunned for 3 seconds when he saw Naruto put on his sunglasses. Because he found that his Sharingan's Jinjutsu had no effect at all, Sasuke glared at Sharingan and used Jinjutsu 5 or 6 times, but Naruto acted as if nothing happened, not like he'd been hit by Jinjutsu at all. Why is this happening? Can sunglasses protect against Jinjutsu? Sasuke suddenly felt that the world was a bit absurd. Realizing that Jinjutsu had no effect, Sasuke immediately waved his hands and threw several shurikens and kunai. Jinjutsu is only the first step, and the throwing objects are also used to test Naruto. Sasuke finished emptying his ninja tool bag and immediately started forming seals. Not far away, Naruto moved his ears slightly, and there was a crackling sound in the air. He didn't need the Big Fox's reminder to know that Sasuke was throwing a projectile to attack him. This time, he didn't take out the big iron door and shoulder it like he did before. Naruto threw 3 space gates in front of him. The purple light cocoon suddenly covered his figure, and all the ninja tools thrown by Sasuke disappeared into it. Purple light illuminated the faces of Sasuke and Hinata under the setting sun, and both of them showed surprise. So awesome. Hinata covered her mouth and kept exclaiming softly. She didn't expect that Naruto's ability could be used like this. Sasuke was shocked, and his pupils dilated at the same time, and he instantly realized something was wrong. Chapter 28 Naruto's turn-based taijutsu school. Boohoo! 3 purple cocoons of light suddenly spread out around Sasuke, and all the ninja tools they had just thrown were flying towards him. The sudden change caused Sasuke to immediately cancel the fire-style release. Because he understands, since Naruto can deflect the ninjutsu he throws, he must also be able to deflect his own ninjutsu. Damn it! Why is this guy so strong? Before coming here, Sasuke actually had some luck in his heart, but now he saw Naruto's proficiency in using this technique. It directly caused despair to rise in his heart. Fortunately, the shurikens and kunai thrown by Sasuke just now were only about 20. The Sharingan in his eyes rotated rapidly, and his dynamic vision was also at its best at this moment. At this moment, the attack trajectories of the shurikens and kunai seemed to be crisscrossing threads in his eyes, and Sasuke could clearly see the landing point of each thread. Saw it. Sasuke felt happy and dodged 2 or 3 consecutive somersaults, followed by several sideways turns. At this time, he seemed to be dancing in a jungle full of thorns. However, Naruto's evaluation of this was only 4 words: flashy. The light door opened again, still in Sasuke's blind spot. After dodging the attack, Sasuke suddenly felt hairs on his back and subconsciously crouched down, just in time to avoid Naruto's sidekick. A bit sharp. Realizing that Sasuke had avoided his attack, Naruto sighed slightly. Although he hated to admit it, Sasuke's reaction ability was indeed better than his own. Perhaps this is the increase brought by Sharingan. The first time he fought against Sasuke, he couldn't avoid his sneak attack. However, Naruto was only slightly surprised. He has never been timid in terms of physical skills. It can be said that in the entire Konoha village in the future, Mekkai may not be his opponent in terms of physical skills. In short, Naruto has absolute confidence in his own taijutsu. Maybe his physical skills are average, but he really dared to compete with his enemies to see who had the strongest vitality. Naruto had already planned that if he met a ninja that he couldn't beat in the future, he would grab each other and stab each other with kunai. You take a look, I take a look. Naruto can guarantee 1000% that he will be the last one standing. Snapped. Sasuke turned around, shook his shoulder, and hit Naruto with a punch on the left side of his face. Although Naruto reacted slowly, he still had time to block Sasuke's attack. Not only was he able to block it, he also grabbed Sasuke's wrist and led him towards him. Sasuke, who suddenly lost control of his body, started kneeing Naruto without even thinking. Then, the battle between the two instantly evolved into a turn-based battle. Naruto grabbed Sasuke's hand with one hand and used the tree-pounding fist with the other. While Sasuke was being attacked, he did not forget to hit Naruto's abdomen with his knee. After 3 rounds, Naruto acted like a normal person, and his punches became faster and faster. If he hadn't saved some face for Sasuke, he would have ridiculed Sasuke for not eating. The force of the kick to him was not enough for him to scratch. At this time, Sasuke not only turned into a pig's head again, but his head was also dizzy, and even the movements of his feet stopped. In a daze, Sasuke felt like he was back to the first time he was pushed to the ground and beaten by Naruto. This moment is exactly like that moment. With Naruto's last punch, Sasuke finally lost consciousness and collapsed to the ground. He didn't understand why he attacked so hard until the moment he lost consciousness. Naruto was stunned and didn't react at all. Hinata watched the whole process and was so surprised that she could hardly close her mouth, especially Naruto's purple jutsu. At first, she just thought it was an ordinary convenient ninjutsu. The moment she saw Naruto deflecting Sasuke's attack, Hinata realized the horror of this technique. In Naruto's taijutsu, she didn't know how to describe it, but it was still very strong. During the battle, just now, Hinata replaced herself as Sasuke. However, she found that once she was pulled into a close combat by Naruto, she would not be able to exert any strength at all, and would most likely end up similar to Sasuke. But Hinata felt that if she was the one who was sparring with Naruto just now, Naruto-kun would definitely be reluctant to beat her so badly. However, what she was more worried about now was whether Naruto was injured. Naruto-kun. Hinata obediently ran to Naruto and walked around him to make sure he was not injured before feeling relieved. "I'm okay." Naruto punched his chest to show that he was fine. To digitize his and Sasuke's health points, Sasuke's damage is not as fast as his own passive blood regeneration, and he can clear Sasuke's health bar with 3 or 2 flat A's. There is no comparison. After looking at the unconscious Sasuke on the ground, Naruto took out a bottle of life potion from the system space, grabbed the kid's face, and poured the potion into his mouth. Cough, 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 ahem. After a while, Sasuke choked and coughed, and his body twitched on the ground like a spring. The injuries on his face were also recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. When Hinata saw this magical scene, she rolled her eyes and stared at the boss. So awesome. Naruto-kun, I won't tell anyone else." Hinata, who suddenly realized something, quickly added. In her knowledge, there seemed to be nothing in the Chunin world that could restore injuries, so she naturally understood that the water Naruto gave Sasuke just now was very precious. The serious look on Hinata's little face really poked Naruto. He raised his hand and touched Hinata's little head, thinking about how many children he would have in the future. "Hey!" Hinata blushed shyly again. She tilted her head and looked about to faint. "Wait, don't faint yet." Naruto was numb now, and there was someone on the ground who had just woken up. Seeing that the sky was getting dark, Hinata fainted and probably wouldn't wake up for a while. What will happen if the Hyuga family sees this? Hayashi Loudon estimated that he would be so angry that he would fight against himself on the spot. I'm fine. Hinata bit her lower lip and used the pain to keep herself awake, but this look made Naruto want to rub her head even more. Sasuke, who had just sat up from the ground, looked at the strange behavior of these two guys with a blank expression. He touched his cheek and found that the previous pain had long since disappeared. Sasuke's first reaction when he woke up was that it was a dream. If he hadn't seen Naruto and Hinata, he would have thought he was dreaming just now. But why are all the injuries on my body healed? After rolling up his sleeves and checking again and again, Sasuke realized that he had no injuries at all. Even the scars from that night are gone. Sasuke thought for a long time, but couldn't figure it out, and finally couldn't help interrupting Naruto and Hinata's whispering beside them. The injuries on my body. How did you do it? Sasuke recalled the state in which he was choked and woke up just now, as if Naruto had given him something to drink. It's hard to say how effective it is, but Sasuke thinks it tastes pretty good. It's sweet and exciting, better than the soda in the village. Sasuke looked at the apples beside him and suddenly remembered the golden apple that Naruto gave him before. The recovery effect of what I drank just now is obviously better than that of golden apples, and it is definitely more precious than golden apples. After realizing this problem, Sasuke felt that the question he just asked was a bit presumptuous. It's not polite to pry into other people's secrets. Sorry, I'm too talkative. The beating is over. I'm going to take Hinata home first. You can go back by yourself. Naruto looked at how late it was, and if he didn't send Hinata back, he was really worried that the Hyuga clan would hunt him down. And in this situation, he felt that there was a high probability that the third-generation old man would not stand on his side. Naruto threw out the space door and pulled Hinata to leave, but Sasuke stopped him at this time. Etc. Can you let me practice with you? Sasuke said this with a hint of pleading. As long as I can become stronger, I'm willing to do whatever you want. Chapter 29, this Huang Mao is like this now. I don't dare to think about what he can do in the future. You go back first. Let's wait until tomorrow comes. Good, Naruto said without looking back, took Hinata's hand, stepped into the light door, and disappeared. He was a little surprised that Sasuke came to him. After all, according to Sasuke's previous arrogant appearance, he would probably only think of ways to become stronger on his own. And how could he try to get away from him? But Naruto actually really needs a teammate. If Sasuke's strength cannot keep up with him, then he will have to fight against the Akatsuki organization all the way, and finally the Tsutsuki clan alone. Why go to the trouble of playing solo when you can obviously form a team and start a group fight? And Sasuke can be said to be the biggest loser besides himself, so it doesn't take much time to train him. When the time comes, when the two of them are fully developed, it doesn't matter what you say. Tsutsuki Mamashiki, one Shiki, they will fight as many as they want. As soon as he passed through the space gate and arrived at the Hyuga tribe, Naruto saw Hayashi Loudon standing in the middle of the gate with his arms folded. He could smell the fire on this guy from a distance. Hayashi didn't say anything when he saw Naruto and Hinata. He just stood there and looked at them. Not only did he see it, but the Hyuga clan also stood outside and looked at Naruto. It can be seen from the veins on their foreheads that all members of the Hyuga clan are rolling their eyes. The atmosphere at the scene instantly became solemn, and Hinata felt that it became difficult to breathe. Naruto had the illusion that he had mistakenly entered a certain club's stronghold. The only difference was that the Hyuga clan did not have machetes in their hands. He was really worried that in the next second someone from the Hyuga tribe would jump out and shout, "Big brother, kill this kid to death," or something like that. Father, father. Hinata lowered her head and walked timidly to Hayashi. As she walked, she looked back at Naruto from time to time, and Naruto seemed to feel that the temperature around him had dropped a lot. Where did you go? Although the words in Hayashi's mouth were asking Hinata, his eyes were fixed on a certain yellow hair. In the eyes of the Hyuga clan, my eldest daughter went out to hang out with some yellow guy after school, and she didn't come back until it was already dark. Now that Huang Mao, who is only 6 or 7 years old, has done such a thing, they dare not even think about what else he might do in the future. If the clan leader hadn't ordered everyone not to take action against Huang Mao, they would have been unable to bear it and rushed to deal with this kid. Who cares if you're the son of 4th generation, Nine-Tails Jinchuriki? Me? Facing her stern father, Hinata lowered her head and was speechless for a while. You know, today is the only time in a long time that she has come home so late. Hinata went to practice with me. You will be with me after school from now on. Naruto smiled and explained to Hyuga Hayashi innocently. As for whether Hayashi Loudon listened to it, he didn't know. However, he found that Hayashi Loudon rolled his eyes after hearing what he said. Let's go back. Your mother is waiting for you in the living room. Hayashi glared at Huang Mao in front of him and turned back with his daughter. When the surrounding Hyuga people saw him, they also left. It's just that everyone's expressions were very regretful, as if they regretted not finding the opportunity to do anything to Huang Mao. Hinata followed her father, turned to smile at Ming, and then waved twice to express goodbye. She didn't dare to move too much for fear of being discovered by her father in front of her. Naruto smiled back at Hinata. After watching her go back, Naruto threw the space door and went home for dinner. At night, he spent several hours cleaning up the garbage in the grove. Then he took out oak and spruce trees from the system space and planted them nearby to use as his own training equipment in the future. You know, trees have so many uses. It can be used as a sandbag to train yourself, and it can also be used to step on trees later to train chakra control ability. You can't do without it if you want to get rich. It was almost midnight, and the dense woods returned to the east of the village. Due to the system's external adaptation rules, the trees planted by Naruto looked no different from other trees. The third generation in the office heard Umbu's report, saying that Naruto had created a large forest in less than one night, and his efficiency was comparable to that of first-generation Senja Hashirama. Now he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He was indeed happy that Naruto could restore the environment he had destroyed before, but he really doesn't like Naruto farming. Why is this child so old and troubled all day long? And his strange blood inheritance limit. Third generation always felt that this child's talent for farming was higher than that of being a ninja. He has now figured out that if there is no big deal, he will never use the crystal ball to see the child's situation. Instead, he will listen to Umbu's report so that he can feel better. If only I watched it every day like before. Third generation really felt that they would not live long enough for Jiraiya to return to the village. The next morning, Naruto went to class and clocked in as usual. Sometimes he really despairs of his abnormal physique. Yesterday, I spent the afternoon pulling out trees and had a fight with Sasuke in the evening. In the evening, I was cleaning up the site and planting trees. When he got home, he felt as tired as a dead dog, and it felt uncomfortable even to move his fingers. As a result, he woke up the next day and found that he was just like a normal person. He couldn't even find an excuse not to train. Seeing him like this, Teacher Gio even wanted to be more intense. Naruto, who was thinking, found Sasuke already standing in front of his seat. When I looked up, I realized that my classmates were no longer in the classroom. It turns out that get out of class is over. But Sasuke is looking for me now. Does he want to skip class with him? You want to skip class with me? Well, there's nothing left in ninja school that can make me stronger. Sasuke said so. He has already studied all the courses in the ninja school in advance, including the 3 body techniques and various theoretical knowledge. If it weren't for the fact that Naruto was still in school, he would have wanted to graduate early. Okay, let's go. Naruto nodded, went out to find Hinata, and said goodbye. Then opened the space door and led Sasuke to the grove by the river. Sasuke was still thinking about Naruto's technique and wanted to see if he could understand anything from it. But let's be honest, the moment he walked into the light door, he secretly turned on the Sharingan, but he didn't notice any chakra fluctuations. In the end, Sasuke could only blame himself for not having the talent for time and space ninjutsu. He had checked the information before, and it was said that practicing this type of ninjutsu requires extremely high talent. The entire Konoha village has only had the 2nd Hokage and the 4th Hokage for so many years, and Naruto is the son of the 4th generation. Judging from this aspect of talent alone, Sasuke felt that he was not as good as Naruto. He wanted to surpass Naruto. Sharingan must evolve to the same level as that man. However, 7-year-old Uchiha Sasuke did not realize that Naruto was a monster. As for now, Sasuke wanted to see how Naruto trained on a daily basis. How should I do? Punch the tree. Naruto pointed at the big tree not far away, with the attitude of a senior instructing his juniors, and worried that the child didn't know how to beat the tree. Naruto started to demonstrate on the spot by saying bang bang twice. Sasuke nodded slightly, walked up to Naruto without any hesitation, and started beating the tree following his example. As a result, the sound of bang bang sounded one after another along the river. If you listen carefully, you can still hear the rhythm. Umbu, who was responsible for monitoring Naruto, and especially Kakashi, felt their brains aching when they heard the sound of the two children beating the tree. You Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is just beating the tree. Why are you bringing other children with you? Do you really think that other people have the same perverted physique as you? Kakashi felt so tired. The idea of resigning from Umbu's position also began to form in my mind. Chapter 30, the 6-year period has arrived. From that day on, there was an extra Uchiha Sasuke in the class who skipped class. As the homeroom teacher, Irika already has a few more wrinkles on his face than before. The groves by the river also had a bang-bang sound, as well as figures dragging trees. At first, Sasuke beat the tree for a day, and his whole body was about to become crippled. Fortunately, Naruto provided him with a special recovery potion. After discovering that Naruto's potion had miraculous effects, Sasuke was no less desperate than Naruto. He may not be as perverted as Naruto, but he still imitates Naruto in dragging trees to complete weight-bearing training. If 3 or 4 trees couldn't be dragged, he would drag one. Now a riverbed is almost being plowed out for these two children to the east of the village. The level of birth even Metkai could not stand. During this period, the old man from third generation couldn't bear it anymore and asked Kakashi to send 2 sets of weight-bearing equipment. Since those load-bearing equipment are made of special metal, their weight is basically the same as the weight of Naruto dragging trees. Thinking that the third generation already has these things, these 2 children will not continue to drag trees, right? The results of it? Naruto said that he would not train like before, turn around, put on the weight-bearing equipment, and started dragging the tree. Seeing that the child had grown crooked, third generation completely gave up on taking care of the child Naruto and simply designated the location east of the village head specifically for these 2 children to train, so as to save them from running to other Konoha villages. Konoha village really can't afford the trouble caused by these 2 guys. As for Hinata, Naruto was very considerate and did not dare to let her go crazy like himself and Sasuke. He prepared a sandbag and a wooden golem stake for her, and then accompanied Hinata to train in physical skills from time to time. The days of practice are always boring, and the 6 years go by in a blink of an eye. This year, Naruto is 12 years old. Sasuke, Hinata, look at the chakra inside me. Naruto sat cross-legged on the ground, closed his eyes, and began to run the wind release chakra in his body to rush towards the door. In the past 6 years, he has never given up on his previous technique. And when Byakugan and Sharingan are constantly improving the amount of wind escape chakra, they're also working with the big fox to modify the running route in the body. Naruto also named this technique Wind Release Bloodstorm Technique. At first, when he ran this technique, the situation was similar to the first time. Because his physique was stronger than before, he directly smashed Konoha's barriers to pieces. I remember that third generation was so PD off at that time. However, Naruto can still control the wind release chakra in his body to a certain extent, running it at full power without endangering his own life. Finally, it was discovered that the extreme state of wind escape and bloodstorm could only last for 15 seconds. Any more, and he'll be in a state of near death. In order to confirm the strength of this technique, Naruto even asked Metkai to evaluate it. At that time, Metkai felt that Naruto was a genius. The state of opening this self-created wind escape and bloodstorm technique was no less than the state of opening the 3 doors of his own. But when I looked at Metkai, I realized something was wrong. Because no one except Naruto dared to practice this technique. Normal people learn this technique. Then we have to mention the roots of Danzo. The third generation learned that Naruto had developed this technique, and immediately listed the wind release and bloodstorm technique as A-level forbidden techniques, and the technique was also included in the scope of nintaijutsu. However, the third-generation old man didn't treat Naruto badly and directly took out the seal scroll and asked him to choose a forbidden technique to learn. I originally hoped that this child would take the initiative to learn to be a flying thunder god. Unexpectedly, Naruto chose the A-level forbidden technique, multiple shadow clone technique. As for why I didn't learn to fly thunder god, Naruto said he really couldn't understand. However, no one expected that Danzo secretly learned ninjutsu from Naruto. As for the situation, no one knows, but it has been 3 years since the root leader disappeared from the eyes of third generation, and we know that this guy must be seriously injured. Third generation heard from the root ninja that Danzo turned into a bloody man on the spot when he practiced the wind escape and bloodstorm technique. It sounds quite miserable. After finally confirming that this ninjutsu can only be learned with Naruto's abnormal recovery ability, third generation deleted this technique without any hesitation. He didn't want any child in the future to learn this technique out of curiosity and then die suddenly and untimely on the spot. Naruto moved the route closer to the heart. Sasuke stared at Sharingan and said seriously. To be honest, he thought Naruto's technique was very good, but it was a pity that he did not have the wind attribute chakra. Otherwise, he would have to learn one from another. Naruto-kun, there is too much chakra. Hinata and Sasuke were on the left and right beside Naruto, constantly reminding him. Boom! As time passed, a large amount of wind attribute chakra emerged from Naruto's pores, along with a large amount of blood mist. From a distance, it looked like Naruto was wrapped in a red cover. Sasuke and Hinata, who were sitting next to him, covered their faces with their hands and used chakra to steady their steps so as not to be blown away by the airwave. This power. Have you reached the 4th gate of 8 gates, Doonjia? Sasuke opened his mouth, not knowing what to say. In order to let these 3 children know the power of 8 gates, Doonjia, Kai specially opened the 4th gate to show them. Now Naruto's aura alone has reached the state where Kai opened the 4th door. Naruto-kun has become stronger again. Hinata felt happy, but also felt useless. She had worked very hard these young years, but no matter what, she just couldn't keep up with Naruto's speed of getting stronger. Even that Uchiha Sasuke is better than him. Naruto slowly opened his eyes and then canceled the wind release and bloodstorm technique. Until now, he has been able to perform this technique skillfully for 1 minute, and the side effect is that he lost strength for half an hour. As for the wind escape and bloodstorm technique, he can activate it almost 3 times a day. Naruto couldn't bear any more. Naruto-kun, today is the school graduation exam at noon. Teacher Irika asked you not to forget it. Hinata suddenly remembered this matter and quickly explained it to them. But the girl began to feel sad again. I wonder if I can be assigned to the same class as Naruto. Well, let's go back to school. Naruto glanced at Sasuke and then at Hinata. According to Fox's calculations, Sasuke has now opened the double Magatama Sharingan chakra, and the amount has reached 80 magic, which is almost the amount he had when he first started practicing. Hinata chakra is a little worse, almost around 50 magic. There is no way. Hinata really can't compare with the two of them. As for Naruto's current chakra amount, it has reached 270 demons. According to the Big Fox's observations over the years, few people in the entire Konoha village have such a chakra. The only one with more than 200 magic chakra is the old man from 3rd generation. This surprised Naruto, but it's normal to think about it. After all, an old man with 5 Grandmaster escape techniques really can't play well without a lot of chakra. The 3 of them walked through the space door to the classroom and found that students had already arrived in class in advance to prepare. Sakura looked at Sasuke and fell into a nymphomaniac again. Ah, Sasuke is handsome again. I like it so much. Shikamaru saw Naruto lift up and weakly said hello to the 3 of them. Although everyone hasn't seen Naruto and Sasuke very much in recent years, they can still talk to each other a few times on weekdays. After a while, Irika came in from the door with a list under his arm and a sad look on his face. When he looked up and saw the 3 people in the back row, his expression relaxed, and a long-lost smile even appeared on his face. Finally, Naruto, Uzumaki, and Uchiha Sasuke are finally graduating. Irika is really worried that these two guys will lead all the children in the class. As for whether they would fail the exam, Irika had never thought about it. Now the entire Konoha village knows that these two children have plowed a river east of the village head. With such strength, they shouldn't stay in ninja school. Get ready. Those whose names are read will go to the next classroom to take the 3 body skills test. Chapter 31 Kakashi. How? Why me? Naruto successfully passed the subsequent 3 body technique test. The plot of Mizuki bewitching him never happened. When Naruto was about to graduate, he was still expecting Mizuki to find him. After all, he can act with Mr. Mizuki for a while, and he can get ninjutsu from the Scroll of Forbidden Arts for free. Who would have thought that a few months ago, Teacher Mizuki had betrayed Orochimaru without telling the village, and was finally taken away by Umbu for investigation? But think about it. How could Shueimu have the chance to confuse himself? Now everyone in the village knows his identity as the son of the 4th generation. Although I may not have a good reputation due to frequent demolitions in the village over the years. But in general, the villagers of Konoha just avoided him, and did not dislike him like in the original work, nor did they refuse to sell him anything. In fact, Naruto didn't know that not much happened to the villagers, purely because Naruto's power was too scary. Back then, when Naruto was 6 or 7 years old, he could swing a big tree to create wind, which left a deep impression on the villagers. When the stick was struck, the whole family would have to have a banquet on the spot. How dare you ask about Naruto? It is also because of this that Mizuki could not find a chance to drive a wedge between Nine-Tails Jinchuriki and the village. Well, Naruto felt like he was losing blood when he thought that he couldn't have SX with ninjutsu for nothing. When he switched to ninjutsu before, he really wanted to learn his father's Flying Thunder God technique. But the key problem was that he really couldn't understand it. Those densely packed ceiling techniques are as confusing as math problems. But he did write it down and wait until he has the opportunity to see if he can learn it. There was also the tandem paper bombs technique, which Naruto was also very coveted, but the 3rd generation old man said he wouldn't let himself learn it. He said he was worried that he would destroy the entire Konoha village. Naruto was getting angry just thinking about it now. I am such an incompetent person. Naruto's sigh caught Sasuke's attention. You didn't do well in the exam? How can it be? Sasuke's words immediately made Naruto anxious. Although my theoretical score in ninja school was poor, I was number 1 in practical terms. How could I fail the exam? Sasuke was relieved after hearing Naruto's answer, but then his face showed a little worry. Do you think we'll be grouped together? He felt that it would be best to be assigned to the same class as Naruto, and the others were really too weak. Did you see that pink hair? Naruto pointed at Sakura, and then continued to speak to Sasuke. I Uzumaki Naruto, count with my fingers. There's a high probability that me, you, and that pink-haired person will be assigned together. Hinata's eyes dimmed as she pricked up her ears to eavesdrop. Can we be assigned to Naruto-kun? Hyuga, Hinata, Aburame Shino, Inazuka Kiba, you 3 come out with me. Big Wave Yai Kurinai pushed the gate of opening at this time, shouted the names of the 3 people, and left the classroom without looking back. After Hinata heard her name, she turned around and left the classroom 3 times. She was so reluctant to leave. In the end, if Naruto hadn't encouraged her sister-in-law, Ryo, she probably wouldn't have wanted to walk out of the door. As the Genin took away their respective students, the originally full class gradually became empty. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura are the only ones left in the classroom. What? You want me to be Naruto's leader Genin? In Hokage's office, Kakashi was in a rare mood. 3rd generation smiled, awkwardly seeing how willing the other party was. It's not like he hasn't asked other Genin these days, but the answers he got were all unwilling. Uzumaki Naruto's ability to cause trouble in the village is well known in Konoha village. At the beginning, they Genin all agreed to resolutely resist Uzumaki Naruto, the troublemaker. Of course, as long as Kakashi and Mekkai don't know. After the 3rd generation was rejected by other Genin, They naturally set their sights on their dear subordinate Hatake Kakashi. Besides, Uzumaki Naruto is your teacher's son no matter what. You shouldn't refuse him both in public and private matters, right? How about, should I go back to Anbu? Kakashi said with difficulty, but when he saw the serious expression on third generation's face, he knew that this was impossible. In fact, he had already had a premonition about third generation's arrangements, and when he was asked to take care of Naruto, he felt something was wrong. The two were in a stalemate for a long time, and finally accepted the task with Kakashi's sign. Kakashi opened his salty eyes and walked towards the classroom where Naruto and the others were sitting, as if he had lost his dream. But as the classroom door opened, Naruto could smell the smell of salted fish on Kakashi from a distance. By the way, will people look like Kakashi when they reach middle age? I am your leader, Jinin Hatake Kakashi. Please give me more advice in the future. The moment Sakura saw Kakashi, she finally confirmed that she and Sasuke were assigned to the same class, and she started to punch and shout like crazy in her heart. Marvelous. Really separated with Sasuke. I have a great chance. That stinky girl Ino, go eat her fart. Sasuke nodded slightly to show respect. He had heard of the genius Kakashi in the village. I am quite satisfied with myself as Jinin. When Naruto heard Kakashi's words, he twitched his lips and said with a strange look on his face, Uncle Kakashi, we are so familiar with each other, so there is no need to be so formal, right? His familiar appearance really gave Kakashi a headache. As long as there is a way, Kakashi really doesn't want to take care of this child, even if he is his teacher's child. You should call me Kakashi-sensei now. Come all with me. After he finished speaking, he put his hands in his pockets and tilted his head to motion for the three of them to follow. Naruto followed Kakashi and was very disdainful of what he just said. Do you still want me to call you teacher? Just wait, you white-haired Zondon. From now on, there will be three of them. One will learn from Orochimaru, the other will learn from Tsunade, and I will go to find Jiraiya. At that time, it will really be calculated based on seniority. They are Sannin's disciples. His father is Jiraiya's disciple, and Kakashi is his father's disciple. After becoming a disciple of Jiraiya, Naruto was so good that Kakashi called him uncle. A group of people came to the rooftop. Sakura was watching Sasuke being a nymphomaniac. Sasuke was pretending to be cool with a straight face, and Naruto was thinking about what to eat tonight. Kakashi leaned on the railing, looking at his subordinates, always feeling that his future was worrying. My name was just mentioned. Hatake Kakashi. There is nothing I like and nothing I hate. Dreams? Nothing either. After he finished speaking, he began to stare at the three of them, his eyes seeming to prompt them to introduce themselves. Naruto didn't even know how to complain about Kakashi. How could someone introduce themselves in such a strange way? Uchiha Sasuke, I like to practice, but I hate a lot of things. My dream is kill that man and defeat Naruto. Naruto, how come defeating me has become your kid's dream? They have fought countless times in the past 6 years, but Sasuke has never won. I don't know since when Sasuke has identified Naruto as the target of pursuit. In Sasuke's perception, if he couldn't even defeat Naruto, let alone kill that man. Now Sasuke's dream has been to cross out the revitalization of the Uchiha clan and change it to defeating Naruto. My name is Haruno Sakura. I like. It's a dream. Hate Ino. This girl would steal a glance at Sasuke every time she said a word. The meaning behind her words was already very obvious. With a poker face, Sasuke completely ignored his sister-in-law's thoughts and turned to look at Naruto. The interaction between the two made Kakashi and Naruto a little embarrassed. Then Naruto cleared his throat and introduced himself. Uzumaki Naruto likes Hyuga Hinata and Tanida. Hate people wearing masks and people who are late. Kakashi's heart tightened. Could this child be nodding at himself? Besides, you don't need to say that you like Hyuga Hinata. The entire Konoha village knows it. It's a dream, world peace. After hearing Naruto's dream, the three of them turned to look at him at the same time. Sasuke didn't understand why he said such profound words. Sakura was still admiring Neru's courage to speak out about her sweetheart just now. Is the world peaceful? Kakashi murmured in a low voice, as if he saw the shadow of his teacher in Naruto again. Once upon a time, My teacher Minato Namikaze said something similar. It seems that Naruto has really grown up. Kakashi suddenly felt a lot relieved. Maybe now he wanted to get to know Naruto again. After all, you can't always look at people the same way you used to. Maybe this kid won't be as naughty as before when he grows up. After coming back to his senses, Kakashi returned to his calm demeanor again and then spoke. The mission will begin tomorrow, and it will also be an assessment for the three of you. This is an extremely difficult test with an elimination rate of 66%. You guys will gather at the training ground at 5 o'clock in the morning. Remember to bring your Junin tools and be prepared to die. Chapter 32 Battle Plan? What is that? Sasuke and Sakura instantly became nervous when they heard that they were preparing to die. The expressions of both of them were a little solemn. Sasuke, who has experienced death, naturally knows the meaning of the word death. Naruto looked at Kakashi's leaving figure and was speechless. If I had never seen Hokage, I would really believe it. It's an ancestral tradition to grab the bell. There are many of these. If you have the guts, just let us fail the exam, and then we'll all have fun together, waiting for Master Madara's monthly study. And be prepared to die. He felt that Kakashi had to wake up first. Otherwise, he would not be joking with Kakashi if he punched him. Go home. Naruto threw the space door smoothly and planned to go back. The two people beside him looked sideways and could not see any nervousness on Naruto's face. Naruto, aren't you worried about tomorrow's mission? Sakura's words made Sasuke nod, as if he wanted to know what Naruto had planned. Naruto said nonchalantly, "It doesn't matter, just lie down and Sasuke, and I will take you flying." This was somewhat shocking, but Naruto was telling the truth. When he and Sasuke get serious, Kakashi really may not be able to beat them. As for Sakura, just a dispensable accessory. Sakura's expression froze, and her heart began to rage. Damn Uzumaki Naruto, how dare you look down on me? Let you see how powerful you are tomorrow. After hearing Naruto's confident words, Sasuke changed his previous nervous look and felt that tomorrow's mission was suddenly stable. He and Naruto have known each other for such a long time, but he has never seen Naruto dare to say something that he was not sure about. Go back by yourself. I won't be practicing today, but I'll see you tomorrow. Good. After saying that, Naruto stepped into the light door and disappeared in front of the two of them. Sasuke lowered his head, put his hands in his pockets, and turned away without even saying hello to Sakura. Sasuke, is it really okay tomorrow? Sakura took the opportunity to run up to Sasuke to find a topic. Don't worry, Naruto and I are strong, Sasuke said without looking back and left even faster. He was in a hurry to go to the east side of the village for training, but he didn't have time to play love games with this pink-haired girl. Sakura looked at Sasuke's leaving figure and thought about what he had just said, and for a moment she felt a little redundant. In the early morning of the next day, the three little ones came to the training ground early to wait. Sasuke and Sakura came especially early, arriving before 5 o'clock. On the contrary, Naruto saw that it was almost 5 o'clock, so he opened a space door and came to the training ground. As for why I arrived on time, in fact, Naruto was not sure whether Kakashi would be late. After all, many things have changed since he came to this world. Who knows if Kakashi will arrive on time on a whim? The three of them stood for a while, yawning nonstop. Naruto looked at the time and found that it was almost 6 o'clock, and Shirohare Nakato probably wouldn't arrive until noon. Thinking of this, Naruto simply took out stones from the space, built a stone house on the spot, and took out a bed and placed it in the room. He looked back at Sasuke, placed an extra bed, and then lay on the bed and fell asleep. Sasuke was already used to Naruto's situation. Seeing the extra bed in the stone house, he lay down on it and started to rest without thinking. Sakura saw Naruto take out strange things first, then saw a stone house appear in front of her in less than 10 minutes, and then saw two teammates going into sleep very carelessly. To be honest, she was petrified. How was this done? Why did a stone house suddenly appear? Sakura subconsciously asked, but what she heard in response was the snores of her two teammates. This time, she won't be able to be punished directly. Sakura's mind has already begun to think. Who I am? Where am I? What am I going to do today? It took her a while to realize that today she was going to carry out the task that Mr. Kakashi said. But why is Mr. Kakashi not here even though he is an hour late? And his teammates not only transformed into a stone house, but also started to fall asleep on the spot. What the hell is this? Kakashi, who was hiding in the dark, was in the same state as Sakura at the moment. He slapped his forehead and sighed deeply. I knew it. I knew this would happen. Kakashi has watched Naruto grow up and is very familiar with the strange blood inheritance limit in him. According to the previous assessment process, he would first warn the three of them not to eat breakfast today, and then ask the three of them to share 2 lunches to test their unity. But the crux of the matter is, Naruto's kid is like a mobile canteen. The previous process simply didn't work for him when the time comes for 3 people to eat 2 bento boxes. Kakashi has no doubt that the child can cook up various feasts directly. So Kakashi had no intention of testing the 3 of them with a bento issue from the beginning. And he wanted to leave the 3 of them there for a few hours and then see how they would react. The result, all I can say is that it was indeed not what Kakashi expected. With Naruto here, I can't even think about taking the assessment properly. Kakashi now regrets agreeing to take care of these 3 children. Oh, forget it. Just get started. Seeing Naruto and Sasuke sleeping soundly in the stone house, Kakashi felt quite uncomfortable. It was obviously an assessment of 3 people, but in the end, he was forced to adopt this style of painting by Naruto, which really made him collapse. Especially since he was squatting in the grass and enduring mosquito bites. Kakashi felt even more uncomfortable. Kakashi sighed and disappeared instantly. Morning. Just when Sakura was leaning against the wall and about to squint for a while, she saw Kakashi appear in front of her and said hello to her. Sakura was so frightened that she immediately jumped up from the ground and kept bowing and apologizing to Kakashi without realizing that someone was there. Almost 2 hours late. Sorry, Kakashi-sensei. I didn't mean to fall asleep. Sakura's attitude gave Kakashi some comfort. Sure enough, this girl is the most normal among her team. After seeing Sakura's appearance, look at the other 2. Go wake them up. Okay. When Sakura heard this, she started to sweat profusely. It's over. The first mission left a bad impression on Mr. Kakashi. It's over. We will definitely not pass the assessment. It's all Naruto's fault. Sakura walked into the stone house dejectedly and saw 2 guys sleeping soundly on the bed, with the veins on their foreheads twitching. Sasuke, Naruto, Kakashi-sensei is here. The 2 went back to sleep, but when they heard the noise, they immediately jumped up and made a defensive posture. Naruto rubbed his eyes and looked at the time. It was not yet 7 o'clock, etc. Kakashi took the wrong medicine? Why come so early? Naruto put away the bed in the room, yawned and walked out. Then he saw Kakashi looking at the sky, seemingly thinking about life. Kakashi-sensei, morning. Kakashi turned his head and looked Naruto up and down, and he almost made a move. What the hell is going on with this kid? If I don't know this kid, I will let him go back to ninja school to retake his studies. Kakashi sighed, then took out the bell from his waist and placed it in front of the 3 of them. Your mission today, just grab the bell from me. Even if you encounter it, it counts as passing the test. If you don't encounter it, it will be deemed as failed, and everyone will be sent back to ninja school to study for another year. I'll give you 3 minutes to prepare. Sasuke and Sakura had strange expressions upon hearing this. Doesn't it mean you have to be prepared to die? The result is this. Sasuke didn't consider the possibility of failure at all. After all, he was no longer the weak, crying child on the night of the genocide. He is very strong now, not to mention having a ridiculously strong teammate. Naruto, Sasuke, let's make a battle plan. Sakura is very happy because this is what she is best at. The 2 of them turned to look at her at the same time, as if there were countless question marks in their eyes. Battle plan? What it is? Naruto's combat thinking was reckless from beginning to end. There is no word battle plan in his dictionary. However, Sakura did not notice the abnormality of the 2 teammates and squatted down to start analyzing. Kakashi-sensei is Jnin. For us, we wanted to feed him head-on. It's simply impossible. So, Kakashi-sensei, Let's get started. I haven't sparred with you for a long time. Naruto directly interrupted the girl's analysis and said excitedly, he has been waiting for this day for a long time. Naruto trembled with excitement at the thought of being able to avenge his shame. Sasuke next to him agreed very much with Naruto's approach. He liked this simple and crude approach. As for the battle plan, in Naruto's words, it's just flashy. Kakashi's eyelids jumped when he heard this. My subordinates don't seem to have any sense of unity. Having a reckless man in the team is very troublesome. Judging from Uchiha Sasuke's appearance, he must have been led astray by Naruto. As for Sakura, these two people didn't take anyone else seriously at all. Sakura was very embarrassed when she was suddenly interrupted by her teammates. She also saw Naruto and Sasuke's attitude towards her. Damn it, it was ignored. I will let you see how powerful I am later. In that case, then let's get started. Kakashi changed his previous salty appearance and instantly entered a fighting state. He didn't know how strong Sasuke was. But facing Naruto, if he doesn't take a serious attitude, it is really possible to suffer a big loss at the hands of this kid. Chapter 33 almost killed Kakashi with one punch, seeing her two teammates eager to try. Sakura quickly took out a kunai from her ninja bag and held it in front of her. She still had some idea in her mind. Kakashi-sensei is the leader of the team. Jinin, no matter how strong you are, can you still defeat each other? Why can't we discuss how to grab the bell? Sakura had a huge headache for her two teammates. But Naruto and Sasuke were different. The two had the goal of defeating Kakashi from the beginning. Grabbing the bell is just a matter of course. Naruto and Sasuke looked at each other and decided to strike first. The two have become very close to each other over the years. You can basically tell what the other person wants to express with just one look. It is not an exaggeration to say that communication is encrypted. Naruto moved his fingers slightly, and dozens of light gates spread out to surround Kakashi. Over the years, Naruto has discovered his shortcomings through constant fighting and made up for them. Just like opening a space door. In the past, he would always swing his hands uncontrollably when using it. By shaking this spell before casting, the enemy could tell something was wrong at a glance. In the end, Naruto had to practice hard for half a year before he got rid of this habit of forward shaking. Then there are the eye-catching features of the space door. Naruto also thought of a solution. As long as you open enough doors in your own space, the other party won't be able to predict which door you will come out of, while making the enemy confused. It can also exert mental pressure on the enemy, which is extremely effective. When Kakashi saw the dazzling number of space doors around him, cold sweat began to flow from his forehead. Naruto's move didn't even occur to him. It was too confusing. You must know that I told Naruto how to use this technique in the first place. Has Naruto actually used this technique to such an extent? It's really a bit of trouble. Kakashi sighed quietly, his expression showing a hint of solemnity. It was obvious that he felt the intensity of Naruto's blow to him. Not only must he be prepared for Naruto and Sasuke to appear in his blind spot at the same time, but he must also be on guard against ninjutsu, who may appear in the light gate at any time. Naruto is not worried, because he knows that this child has not learned many ninjutsu in total. As for Sasuke, there is a high probability that he will use throwing and fire style to attack himself. Sakura on the side saw dozens of light gates around her and began to doubt her life. Most of the ninjas in Konoha village know that Naruto can use this technique, but she had never seen Naruto firing so many in a row. She, who ranks first in theoretical scores, naturally knows the power of doing this. Just looking at the light gate around Kakashi, Sakura's brain's CPU was almost burning. You're kidding. This guy's a monster. Naruto chuckled, and then formed a seal with his hands. Multiple shadow clone technique. Bang, 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 hundreds of clones appeared on the scene instantly, and Kakashi's eyes widened when he saw them. How much chakra does this kid have? There were so many clones of Naruto that they blocked Kakashi's sight. His field of vision was completely covered by a group of yellow fur. Sasuke and Sakura can also be seen there. Even the purple light door was blocked. Now, Kakashi can only rely on the memory in his mind to determine the location of those light gates. Go together. FK this white hair to death. Come on. The clones shouted one by one and pressed toward Kakashi's position, squeezing his dodge range at the same time. Does it seem like I can only do physical training? Kakashi took out a kunai and held it in his hand. Then he leaned forward slightly, kicked his legs, and rushed towards the large group of yellow hairs. This can be regarded as the best solution. After all, Naruto is not as good as the veteran ninja Kakashi in terms of taijutsu skills. From the moment the two sides came into contact with each other, the clones were decreasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. On average, a clone will be F-ed and exploded after just 3 moves with Kakashi. Call. Just as Kakashi hit the ground, a fireball suddenly flew from his side. The clones jumped up to Kakashi with great tacit understanding and hugged his limbs tightly, hoping to imprison him for just a second. Bang, when the fireball hit Kakashi, it brought up a large amount of dust, but Kakashi was not seen. Only a burnt wooden pile was left on the ground. Earth-style heart decapitation technique. Sasuke's eyes opened slightly, and the crisis made his hair stand on end. At this moment, Naruto's space door appeared behind Sasuke in time, and purple light shone on Sasuke's face. He immediately reacted, lay back and entered the light door and disappeared. The next moment, Kakashi appeared from where Sasuke was just now, feeling aggrieved in his heart. I never thought that when I taught Naruto how to use this technique, he would one day be used against him by this technique. The most difficult thing is, until now he has not found Naruto's true form. Hiding in the dark and using time and space ninjutsu to avoid his own attacks, he didn't know what to do for a while. It feels like those two kids are like skateboarding loaches. One cannot be found, one cannot be caught. What a headache. Thinking of this, Kakashi turned his attention to Sakura, who was still stupidly staying in place. Among the three, she is the weakest and the easiest to solve. Any normal ninja would first deal with or control the weakest enemy in the team. Kakashi disappeared in an instant, completely ignoring the yellow hair behind him. Sakura. Enter the light door. Naruto saw the look on Kakashi's face and knew that he hadn't held it in well. The moment he disappeared, he started to remind Sakura, who was stupidly stuck in the same place, and even opened a light door next to her. But in this way, the position of Naruto's body was also exposed to Kakashi's sight. Sasuke realized that his teammates were in danger, turned around, took out his ninja tool, waved his hands, and threw it towards the nearest light door. I have to say that Naruto's light gate is really easy to use. In the past, he had to think about whether various throwing angles could hit the enemy's vital points, and whether they would be dodged by the opponent. And now, he just threw the ninja tool at the light gate, and left the problem of hitting it to Naruto's light gate. When Sakura realized she was in danger, Kakashi had already appeared in front of her, released a genjutsu on her, and then began to dodge the projectiles thrown from the light door. Ding ding ding, the kunai and shurikens that kept falling at his feet really made Kakashi sweat. Too fast. The cooperation of these two children already made him feel numb. Just now, if there was only 1 second at night, he would be pierced by Sasuke's ninja tool. But it's okay. The weakest of the three is solved. Sakura, who had been hit by genjutsu, was now stuck in place. Her eyes were dull. She showed a look of fear from time to time, and her body was shaking uncontrollably. Naruto and Sasuke were not too surprised to see this scene. From the beginning, the two did not have high expectations for Sakura. It's just that they didn't expect. Kakashi is so shameless. In a 3-person team, you still have to pick the weak ones first. Uzumaki couldn't hold it any longer, opened a space door around Kakashi, and then rushed forward. Kakashi-sensei, let me see your measure. Sasuke? Sasuke, who was about to launch an attack, was slightly startled, and his expression suddenly became a little strange. Naruto's words. Why is it so similar to what that man once told me? Could it be that he heard me talking in my sleep? Kakashi noticed Naruto's attack and quickly distanced himself from him. Now in this situation, once the fight with Naruto continues, Sasuke on the side will definitely find an opportunity to attack him. Does it seem like I can only use Sharingan? Kakashi pulled up the blindfold and opened the 3 Magatama Sharingan. Sasuke asked excitedly and loudly after seeing it. Why do you have Sharingan? Well, It's a gift from a friend. After calmly replying to Sasuke, Kakashi used the teleportation technique again and disappeared in front of Naruto. But how could Naruto let him go? The teleportation technique is indeed very fast, but no matter how fast it is, can it be as fast as my spatial door? The next moment, when Kakashi appeared on the spot, Naruto's figure had already followed him and hit Kakashi's waist with an uppercut. Snapped Kakashi, who reacted very quickly, twisted his waist and grabbed Naruto's wrist. At this moment, the sweat on his forehead was already dripping on the ground. Almost, I was so close to having my happiness cut off by this child. Kakashi was also fierce, raising his foot and kicking Naruto far away. But he discovered Naruto immediately got up as soon as he landed. It didn't look like he had kicked him hard at all. Normally, Jonin would have to take a moment to recover after being kicked like this. Kakashi screamed again in his heart. What on earth did the mistress give birth to? Fire style, great fireball technique. Sasuke's attack arrived in time, giving Kakashi no chance to breathe. The moment fire style was released, Sasuke leaned forward and began to launch a physical attack on Kakashi. However, what he didn't expect was, when Sasuke punched Kakashi, the opponent turned into lightning and disappeared. Sasuke was also temporarily paralyzed due to the lightning style. Then Sasuke felt the soles of his feet sink, and his entire body sank into the ground, leaving only his head outside. At this time, both Sasuke and Sakura have lost their fighting ability. Naruto stared at Kakashi not far away and once again assumed an offensive posture. Kakashi suddenly laughed when he saw this action. This kid, are you reenacting the scene where you fought against yourself when you were 6 years old? Naruto moved slightly, screamed strangely, and then rushed towards Kakashi. But when he was about to approach Kakashi, Naruto instantly entered the light gate. When Kakashi saw the other party disappearing, he used the teleportation technique without any hesitation and disappeared in the same place. In the direction he moved was the light door where Naruto disappeared just now. The next moment, Kakashi and Naruto's figures appeared at the same time. The distance between the two was very close, so close that Kakashi could see the smile on Naruto's face, etc. Did this kid let himself into the light door on purpose? Boom! Naruto looked at Kakashi in front of him and smiled slightly, and then before he could react, he punched Kakashi in the abdomen. Fortunately, Kakashi finally reacted and used his arm to touch Naruto's fist. But there was a clear sound in their ears. Gada-ho! Kakashi felt his arm go numb, followed by unbearable pain. He knew that his right hand was useless. What kind of monster is this kid? Kakashi knelt on the ground, resting his head on the ground, motionless. It looked excruciating. Kakashi-sensei, are you okay? Chapter 34 Kakashi, before was before. Now is now. Oh, trattino fine. I'll just take it easy. Kakashi's head was pressed against the ground, and his expression at the moment could not be seen at all. But Naruto felt that he had struck a little too hard. Teacher Kakashi, did I analyze your information carefully this time? Naruto put his hands on his hips and said very proudly. Thinking of being pushed to the ground by Kakashi when he was 6 years old, and looking at Kakashi's appearance at this moment, Naruto just felt comfortable all over. I feel like I can show off 3 big bowls of dry rice tonight. Naruto patted Kakashi's shoulder comfortingly, and then took the bell from his waist very naturally. Kakashi was kneeling on the ground. He didn't want to pay attention to the child at all now. Why is this damn kid so heavy-handed? After all, you could be considered an acquaintance of this child, right? If he hadn't reacted in time and blocked Naruto's fist with his hand, he had no doubt that he might be killed with this punch. Kakashi glanced at his right hand. He felt that if he wanted to be good, he would have to cultivate for a few months. My heart is so tired. Whoever likes to lead this 7th class. Anyway, he's going back to fight with 3rd generation. After a while, Kakashi put his knees on the ground, stood up with difficulty, and said with a salty expression, "You all have passed. Disband." After Kakashi announced, he held his arms, his body slightly stooped, and limped forward. Naruto couldn't bear to see the miserable look of Bai Mao Zongdan. After all, he had watched him grow up. Moreover, the other party still gave instructions on how to use the space door. Today I couldn't hold myself back and almost didn't send Kakashi off on the spot. Naruto also felt it was a little too much. Thinking of this, Naruto took out a bottle of life potion, quickly chased after him, then grabbed his sleeve and said, "Kakashi-sensei, take this." As soon as he said this, Naruto noticed that Kakashi's body was shaking. "Naruto, don't hold my hand." Kakashi was really desperate. Not only was he injured by the genin he led, but he also had his arm broken by this kid. He really wanted to give Naruto a Chidori now. Feels sorry. After realizing that he had grabbed the wrong place, Naruto scratched his head and smiled awkwardly. It's obvious to heaven that he really didn't grab teacher Kakashi's severed hand on purpose. Naruto then handed the life potion to him. Kakashi glanced at him, confused as to what the child was doing. This is a potion that can restore injuries. Kakashi-sensei, just go back and drink it. Seeming to see the confusion in his eyes, Naruto thoughtfully explained how to use it. Kakashi looked a little weird after hearing this. Are you kidding? He is still somewhat aware of his injuries. According to experience, his entire arm should be fractured and dislocated. In severe cases, bone fractures may occur. No matter how miraculous your medicine is, it can still compare to the ninjutsu of other medical ninjas. And even if it is effective, it should be applied externally, right? This child's words are very unreliable. But considering his feelings and feeling a little guilty, Kakashi decided to accept the potion. I see. I just accepted the stuff. You remember to go back and take a full body photo. Gone. Kakashi still looked like a salty fish. After explaining, he took the life potion and limped away from the scene. Somehow, Naruto saw in Kakashi the same loneliness as his own. Why is it different from what I expected? Naruto looked at Kakashi's disappearing figure and murmured in a low voice. Although he defeated Kakashi, he was not as happy as he imagined. What did you say? Fine. Sasuke appeared next to Naruto at some point. This guy was covered in mud and had a pungent, earthy smell from time to time. Those who didn't know better thought that this guy went to roll around in the mud pond. It can be said to be very embarrassing. Standing next to them was Sakura, who lowered her head and didn't dare to look at Naruto and Sasuke. Even Sasuke no longer acts like a nymphomaniac around him. There was nothing I could do about it. In the battle just now, the girl was really bruised by the two idiots. She originally wanted to prove her strength. Little did he know that when the battle started, he not only froze in place, but also hindered Naruto and Sasuke. Sakura lowered her head, clutched the corners of her clothes with both hands, and her body twitched occasionally. She cried and said to the two of them, "I'm sorry. I really didn't mean it just now. Really sorry." Naruto saw that Sakura's feet were wet and glanced at the way her shoulders were twitching and knew what was going on. He nudged Sasuke with his elbow and winked at him as if to say, "Brother, please comfort your wife quickly. If we are single, we will not be able to become in-laws in the future." It's just that Naruto's movements were even more weird in Sasuke's eyes. Boring. Sasuke replied lightly, not sure whether he really didn't understand or pretended not to understand. Finally, Naruto spoke to comfort him. "Sakura, don't be depressed. Kakashi-sensei is no match for a normal person." Sakura? The girl, with tears in her eyes, glanced at the two of them doubtfully and began to murmur in her heart. "So, neither of you are normal?" Naruto only glanced at the expressionless Sasuke, with a bit of contempt and ridicule in his tone. "Hey Sasuke, you were too busy just now, weren't you? Kakashi-sensei's earth style, inner beheading technique. I've already helped you dodge it once before. Why are you still being tricked? Where are you fire style? Where's your shuriken throwing technique? Why did you only use it once in the whole process? And your physical skills?" Naruto's little mouth was like honey, and he kept scolding Sasuke. Just like Naruto in his previous life, he sprayed his teammates when he lost a team fight. If it weren't for the consideration of the others' parents, the entire clan would have been gone, and Naruto would have had to greet Sasuke's family tree politely. To be honest, although what Naruto said was unpleasant, Sasuke's performance this time was really bad. He didn't perform at his usual level at all. Sasuke looked grim and said nothing. He himself was not satisfied with the battle just now. In the battle just now, my attack frequency was low, and I didn't even hit Kakashi. According to Naruto, after the whole battle, his output was not as high as Naruto's punch. After Naruto finished speaking, Sasuke finally spoke. Not next time. Naruto's face improved after hearing this. Only, Lousy's mouth has dried up. Why don't you just reply to me? Sakura looked at the way her two teammates got along and instantly felt pressure rising. She actually knows it in her heart. The words Naruto comforted her just now were purely polite words from someone who was not familiar with her. As long as you are familiar with this guy, you will definitely be sprayed bloody by Naruto, right? Chapter 35, Third Generation. Kakashi, you have been a bit lazy these years. Forget it. I won't talk about you anymore. You go back and review it carefully. Naruto tugged at the corner of his mouth and said helplessly. He even wondered if he was a little harsh on Sasuke, or if he was backing away from the situation. After all, if you really count, he is the #1 cheater in the world. Not only does he have the strongest tailed beast Kurama in his body, but he also has a massive amount of chakra from the Uzumaki clan. Plus, I have my own system. It is unknown whether he still has the Azura chakra in him. On the other hand, Sasuke has chakra, the reincarnation of Indra, and then there's the basic plug-in Sharingan, and then there's an external support Uchiha Itachi, and there's a curse seal in Orochimaru. To be honest, Sasuke's strength growth rate in the early stage is really average. No wonder I wanted to study abroad in Orochimaru, and his cheat can't activate Manjiki Sharingan until at least Pacific Battle. Just as Naruto was thinking about how to arrange a career plan for Sasuke, Sasuke, next to him, spoke first. Naruto, open the door. I will go back to the river to practice. When Sakura heard Sasuke speak, she raised her hand timidly, and they both turned to look at the girl. Can I practice with you? After all, we are teammates too. Naruto made no comment and turned to look at Sasuke to see what this guy had to say. Casual. Sasuke doesn't care, since he and Naruto have pink hair and it won't affect their training. As long as this guy doesn't bother you, it'll be fine. Naruto didn't care. After hearing Sasuke's agreement, he threw the space door directly. Sasuke didn't even wait for the light door to open completely before he got in. Sakura hesitated for 2 seconds before following. At the same time, I was still secretly happy. Very good. It's really great to be able to train with Sasuke. Hey, you two remember to take pictures today. Kakashi-sensei said it is due tomorrow. Seeing that both of them couldn't wait to leave, Naruto quickly reminded them. But after he finished saying this, the light door had disappeared, and it was not clear whether the two of them heard it. Naruto was still a little excited when he thought that he would officially become a ninja tomorrow. You must know that from the first day of this world, he has already fantasized about the moment he became a ninja. This also means that the Hokage plot will officially begin. Naruto slowly raised his hand, held it in the direction of the sun, and murmured, "Wait, then. Uchiha Obito, just wait until the day I kill you." He is really worried about that BD Obito. Although his parents in this world were killed by Obito, in fact, Naruto didn't even see their specific appearance. It's a bit nonsense to say that there are any feelings. Every time Naruto was curious about them, he would go to the Hokage Rock 4th Generation statue and sit for a while. It's just that the statue really can't see his father's face clearly. However, under the 3 views of his previous life, Naruto still adhered to the sworn hatred of killing his father and mother. But the main thing, Naruto, being held in Uchiha Obito's arms, really felt threatened by death. Although he had realized that he had traveled to the Hokage world at that time, who knew whether an accident would happen due to his arrival? At that time, he had just traveled through time and finally got rid of the life of a social animal. It would be a real injustice to die at the hands of Obito. Naruto recalled that scene, and he was looking forward to his future as a ninja. Okay, let's take a photo first. Go to Tsutsuki Ichiraku and try ramen. After arranging today's schedule, Naruto took a leave from the Big Fox, threw a space gate in place, and planned to go find Hinata first. Hokage office, an empty bottle, is placed in front of 3rd generation. Are everything you said true? Kakashi held his eyes open and said helplessly, "True. When I drank the potion, I found that my arm had recovered, and I immediately went to the hospital to check the situation. The medical ninja said that not only did his arm recover, but even the hidden injuries on his body were gone. Kakashi was really shocked by the bottle of potion that Naruto took out. When he was walking from a training ground to the hospital just now, he didn't take this bottle of medicine seriously. He basically understood Naruto's blood inheritance limits. I can conjure up all kinds of weird things, but there are few things related to ninjas. I can't say it's useless at all. I can only say it's not useful at all. If it weren't for the fact that I was very thirsty just after the battle, and I happened to have only this bottle of potion at hand, I would have raised my head and drank it all. After drinking it, he found that his injuries were healed. Realizing that this was a serious matter, Kakashi first went to the doctor to check his body, and then ran to Third Generation to report the situation. Third Generation picked up the cigarette rod and took a puff, then slowly blew out a smoke ring. Kakashi, what do you think about this? Kakashi was slightly startled when asked. How else can I watch? I use Sharingan to watch it. Kakashi actually has quite complicated feelings about the current recovery situation from his injury. To be honest, in fact, he would rather rest in the village for a few months and just let the 7th class rest. This will take Naruto out of the village. He might even cause some big trouble for himself. But now that the injury is healed, it means that he has to take them on missions again. Exhausted, I really want to read at home. However, you still have to answer your boss's questions. Kakashi recalled the situation at that time, and then began to report to Third Generation. This potion that Naruto took out, a chakra that is supposed to have yin and yang properties. The moment I drank it, I obviously felt a lot better mentally and physically. At this point, Kakashi paused again and then continued. But I think Naruto doesn't have many of these. Otherwise, I would have taken it out long ago. Third Generation heard Kakashi's report and nodded in agreement. He had previously received a report from Umbu that Naruto had been in a near-death state many times while practicing the wind escape and blood-critical technique over the years. Even with the physique of a Nine-Tails, Jinchuriki, and an Uzumaki clan, this child had to stay in the hospital for 10 days and a half. If such a good thing really existed, it would have been taken out long ago. Third Generation held a cigarette stick and puffed out smoke. After thinking for a while, he said more. I will let Umbu keep this matter secret and make it the village's top secret. You go back and ask Naruto about the potion. Okay, Lord Third Generation. Third Generation nodded and was about to wave Kakashi away when he suddenly grasped the key point of Kakashi's previous words. Etc. Kakashi, you mean? You were injured by Naruto during the assessment? And the whole arm was broken? Third Generation's eyes widened and they couldn't believe this at all. Isn't it? Did you really train this child to have physical skills? Kakashi's face twitched. I thought I could keep my old face, but I didn't know that Third Generation only noticed this problem at this time. Right. Kakashi didn't explain too much. He just wanted to go back and have a good rest. When Third Generation heard what he said, he looked at Kakashi with a confused expression and remained silent for a while. After a long time, Third Generation finally said, Kakashi, you have been a little lazy these years. Your father and Minato wouldn't want to see you like this. Kakashi, do you want to go and see how perverted that child Naruto is? It's not your problem at all. Kakashi, who was suddenly favored by Third Generation, suddenly felt that he had been wronged. Chapter 36, I have opened my eyes as wide as possible. Naruto walked through the light gate and came to the Hyuga tribe. He looked up and saw Hinata standing there with her hands on her chest and even wearing a new hairpin on her head. It seems that he is very much looking forward to today's date. Hinata-chan. Naruto smiled and waved his hands to greet his sister-in-law Liang at the gate. But his actions instantly made everyone in the Hyuga clan nervous. Anyone from the Hyuga clan would not have a good impression of this yellow man who started abducting his eldest daughter at the age of 6. Miss Hinata is considered by everyone to be the hope of the Hyuga clan. But it was this yellow guy who started to come to me since he was a child. It was sneaky at first, but in the past 2 years, it has even appeared openly at the gate. If we don't take action against this kid now, it's because everyone still has some sense in their hearts. Otherwise, I have to show Naruto Uzumaki some color. Naruto-kun. After Hinata heard the familiar voice, her eyes suddenly lit up. She waved in response to Naruto, with an excited blush on her face. The Hyuga tribe has never seen their eldest daughter smile so happily. They felt the smile on Hinata's face, and they were equally happy for the eldest lady, but at the same time they rolled their eyes at a certain yellow-haired person. No matter what, this yellow guy is unforgivable. Naruto ignored the angry looks from the Hyuga clan. Anyway, he had been used to being looked down upon by his little girlfriend's family over the years. If they don't look at him like this one day, he will still feel uncomfortable. Hinata took small steps and quickly moved to Naruto's shoulder, but felt that it was a bit embarrassing to be too close, so she took a small step back to the side. The eyes she looked at Naruto were gleaming, and her white pupils were shining brightly like a gem at this moment. The Hyuga clan members only felt that the light in the eldest lady's eyes was dazzling. Naruto glanced at the middle-aged and elderly people around him, and then at his lovely little sister Leon. For some reason, his brain suddenly twitched, and he whistled loudly. Realizing that his behavior was very provocative and worried that a fight would break up Hyuga's house, Naruto quickly threw a space door, grabbed Hinata's hand, and left the scene. Rough. Was this guy just provoking us? No matter. I'm going to fight this yellow guy today. No one can stop me. Even if Hayashi-sama comes today, I will take care of him. Damn it. The Hyuga tribe had a lot of objections to Huang Mao, and they were all very restrained in their anger. Who knew that Huang Mao was so ungrateful that he dared to whistle to provoke everyone? I simply didn't take them seriously. Everyone calmed down and felt that bullying the younger ones would be detrimental to the reputation of the Hyuga family. So they decided to secretly inform the genius of the Hyuga branch house, Hyuga Niji. They couldn't take action against the yellow hair, but it would be okay for Niji, who was about the same age, to spar with him. Right? Not only can it prevent the clan leader and Hokage from finding any faults, but it can also teach that damn yellow hair a lesson. Simply kill two birds with one stone. As for whether Hyuga Niji will lose, sorry, they never considered it. Can a yellow-haired man with time and space ninjutsu be stronger than the genius of the Hyuga clan? When the Hyuga clan went to inform Hyuga Ningji secretly, a certain yellow hair had already come out of the photo studio with Hinata. The two not only took ninja ID photos, but also took many group photos. They took about 100 photos before they stopped with satisfaction. In the photo, Naruto was doing all kinds of weird things. If it weren't for the lack of video equipment in the Konoha photo studio, Naruto would have wanted to skip subject 3 on the spot. When the final battle was over, he would have been able to play his winning team's MVP. Checkout screen. Hinata's sister-in-law, Ryo, was shy and didn't show off as much as Naruto. Her movements were similar in every photo, basically tilting her head and smiling at the funny Naruto. She really envied Naruto's courage and carefree temperament. After so many years of contact, Hinata can always find bright spots in Naruto. She didn't know when she started, but she told herself in her heart that she must become as courageous as Naruto. Maybe it was when she was lost when she was 3 years old, or when she was 5 years old, and helping her fight away those bad kids. Hinata thought about the memories of the past and unconsciously held the stack of photos in her hands tightly to her chest. It's wired. Why is my heart beating so fast? Feeling the beating of her heart, Hinata felt that her mood at this moment was indescribably subtle. She didn't know how to describe this feeling. Hinata, let's go eat. How about Ichiraku ramen? When she heard the word eat, Hinata's little face showed a hint of panic. She didn't want Naruto to know that she ate so much. A girl who eats so much will definitely be laughed at by Naruto. And she didn't want Naruto to spend too much money. I'm not hungry. Naruto saw his sister-in-law's unnatural expression and instantly understood what she was thinking. But I'm a little hungry. Let's go. Hinata-chan, just go with me. Hearing what Naruto said, Hinata showed an embarrassed expression at first, but had no choice but to agree to him, and always warned herself in her heart. I just accompanied Naruto to eat ramen. I won't eat a bite. The two walked side by side on the streets of Konoha village. They didn't walk fast, but both of them felt extremely peaceful inside at this moment. Hinata thought it would be great if she could stay like this with Naruto. The Ichiraku ramen stall was not big, not even as big as the food stall that Naruto had eaten at in his previous life. He really didn't understand Uncle Ichiraku. Since his business was so good, why didn't he open a store in Konoha Village? Then Naruto thought of the Konoha Village that was destroyed later. Could it be that Uncle Ichiraku knew in advance that Konoha Village would be destroyed in the future, so he didn't spend any money to open a store in the village? Naruto, who was distracted, felt as if he had discovered an unknown secret. Opening the curtain, only 4 people can sit inside. Hey, what do guests want to eat? When Yao saw the 2 guests, he wiped his hands with a rag and greeted them warmly with his eyes narrowed. Naruto had a serious look on his face, staring intently into Ichiraku's eyes. Naruto! Hinata didn't quite understand him when she saw him, and it was a little rude not to reply to the boss. Uncle, please have 2 bowls of seafood ramen. Hinata beside her was a little confused. Didn't Naruto-kun say he would eat it himself? But why did you order 2 portions? Does Naruto want to eat 2 bowls? My sister-in-law Yang was very confused, but she was too embarrassed to ask. Naruto didn't notice Hinata's little expression. He was focused on the face of Uncle Ichiraku, who was busy working. After a few minutes, Naruto felt that if he didn't figure out Ichiraku's identity, he would probably not be able to sleep tonight. In his previous life, he always saw people teasing Uncle Ichiraku about being a member of the hidden Tsutsuki clan in those forums. He even started to analyze things like Tsutsuki Ichiraku, which is very outrageous. Uncle, why do you always close your eyes? Naruto finally couldn't help but ask Ichiraku. Ichiraku, who was busy inside, moved his hands and turned to look at Naruto. He had begun to murmur in his heart. Whose family does this child belong to? Why is it so rude? Child, I've opened my eyes as wide as possible. Naruto, Chapter 37 is your name, Uzumaki Naruto? Knowing that Uncle Ichiraku's eyes were naturally so big, Naruto also realized that his question just now was indeed a bit offensive. He put his hands together and said sorry to Uncle Yao. Naruto really didn't expect the truth to be like this. Looking at the child's appearance, Ichiraku just smiled slightly and did not take Naruto's behavior to heart. He brought out 2 generous bowls of seafood ramen and placed them in front of the 2 of them. Guests, please use it slowly. The 2 bowls of seafood ramen can be said to be quite generous. If you really want to describe it, it can be said that the seafood is mixed with some noodles. Even the bowls are bigger than Naruto's face. Compared with the beef ramen in the previous life, which was almost as thin as paper, it can be said to be very conscientious. Naruto pushed one of the bowls in front of Hinata. My sister-in-law was so thin-skinned that he even made an excuse for Hinata. Eat something with me. But just as Hinata was about to refuse, Naruto had already thrust the chopsticks into her hand. After hesitating for a few seconds, she finally lowered her head and ate the ramen in small bites. Hinata is not stupid. Of course she knows that Naruto said this to take care of herself. And Naruto-kun's excuse is really lame. The considerate Hinata naturally wouldn't point it out to him, and still smiled and pretended not to know anything. Half an hour later, Naruto's stomach kept twitching up and down, and if he moved even a little bit, he felt like he could spit out all the ramen he had just eaten. There were 18 empty bowls placed at his place, and almost 60 bowls placed at Hinata's place. Suck dash. Hinata's little mouth squirmed, and the last bite of noodles went into her stomach. It was completely impossible to tell that this girl had eaten more than 60 bowls of ramen. Naruto-kun, are you okay? Hinata regretted that she could not resist eating so many bowls of noodles. I'll be fine if I take a break. Naruto swallowed hard and took several deep breaths before gradually feeling better. At first, in order to take care of Hinata's feelings, he accompanied Hinata to eat together. As a result, when I ate the 10th bowl, I suddenly felt a man's strange desire to win. He just wanted to see if he could eat better than Hinata. When he ate the 15th bowl of ramen, Naruto realized that he was wrong. It's so wrong. Hinata's stomach is simply more exaggerated than the vixen in her belly. The big fox could still tell how full he was after eating, while Hinata's whole state was as full. When asked if she was full, Naruto would always hear Hinata say she was almost full, and it sounded like she would be full after just one more bowl. In short, don't ask, just ask if you were full. Hinata's face was slightly red, but she still felt very embarrassed. She secretly put the ramen money in a hidden position while Naruto was not paying attention, then walked in front of Naruto and helped him get out of his seat. While walking, Hinata also ran her hand along Naruto's back, as if this would make him feel better. Naruto, who was about to die, was in pain and happy. But the fox in his belly was still taunting him as he walked around. "Kid, you are too weak. You can't even eat a little girl." After Kurama finished speaking, he opened his mouth and took a big sip, and the pieces of meat from the giant barbecue grill flew directly into his mouth. Naruto was speechless after hearing this. How can I, a normal person, compare with you? Besides, did this big fox really not realize that it had grown in size due to overeating over the years? Wait, you should panic when you see other tailed beasts by then. Naruto didn't want to pay attention to the mute vixen in his belly. Naruto, who was being taken care of by Hinata's sister-in-law, Rio, despised the vixen in his belly. Correct. It seems we didn't pay just now, right? Naruto was halfway there when he suddenly remembered that the two of them seemed to have left Ichiraka Ramen just now, without even paying a penny. Although Uzumaki Naruto's reputation in the village was not very good, he never bothered to do such a thing as eating the king's meal. Moreover, when he was 3 years old, he threw a gold ingot out of the system and realized that there was no one richer than himself in the whole world. If Naruto is willing, he can use a large number of gold ingots in the system to impact the entire world's economy. It is estimated that there will be no need for Obito to start the fourth war at that time. The ninja world will start the war on its own due to the economic collapse. I just paid. Hinata lowered her head and did not dare to look in Naruto's eyes for fear that she would be blamed. Okay, but remember to tell me next time. Naruto didn't pay attention. Seeing Hinata's lowered head, he reached out and touched her little head. "What are you doing? Let me go, Miss Hinata." A sudden loud shout in front caused the two people who were almost stuck together to separate instantly. Naruto turned around and saw a member of the Hyuga clan standing in front of him. He looked at the man's long black face and the rage in his white eyes at this moment. He understood that it was his uncle Hyuga Niji who came. "Ning, ne brother." Hinata suddenly panicked when she saw the other party's furious look. She was not afraid that Naruto would be punished, but she was mainly worried that her brother would be injured by Naruto. Hyuga Niji glanced at Naruto coldly, and then saw Miss Hinata standing in front of the yellow hair. Niji raised his head slightly and took a deep breath. The tradition of the Hyuga clan allowed him to restrain his anger. Although he had heard about the unusual relationship between Huang Mao and the eldest lady before, he just thought that these were just rumors. Never thought, is this yellow hair really going to trick the eldest lady of the Hyuga clan away? As the eldest lady of the Hyuga clan, she shoulders the fate of the entire family, and the fate of their entire branch house is tied to the eldest lady. Actually hanging out with this yellow-haired guy? What on earth is the eldest lady doing? Shouldn't we work hard to become stronger at this time? Niji felt that it was a joke that his fate was bound to this young lady. To be honest, he looked down on this obedient young lady in his heart, and also looked down on the yellow man who couldn't recognize himself. All in all, Hyuga Niji was very, very angry at the moment. "Is your name Uzumaki Naruto? Duh. What's wrong with you?" Naruto almost subconsciously called out brother. If he hadn't reacted in time, he would have probably made Niji angry at himself. Naruto's normal words sounded like provocation to Niji. This guy doesn't understand the situation at all? Niji knew that it would be impossible if he didn't teach this yellow hair a lesson. He slowly swung his right hand to his side, moved his feet, and made a Hyuga fluid technique starting gesture. Hinata looked at Niji, then at Naruto, and felt something bad. Naruto was immediately amused by Niji's invitation to fight. Physical combat? This is what Uzumaki Naruto likes the most. Chapter 38. Naruto defeated his uncle with mouth escape. "Hinata, please go to the edge and wait for me. I'll fix it soon." Naruto rubbed Hinata's head and asked her to wait for him at the edge. "As for my uncle, let's give him a little color. After all, what if my family is badly beaten and my uncle beats my nephew?" Naruto slowly made Wing Chun gestures and told his uncle that he wanted to destroy his family. Which road has the most roads, Konoha or Foshan? Niji was confused and couldn't figure out why this guy wanted to introduce himself before the fight started. Which road in Foshan has the most traffic? He didn't understand, but out of respect for the person he was fighting with, Niji imitated the other person's words and started to respond. Konoha, Hyuga Niji. Naruto. After hearing Niji's speech, a question suddenly popped up in Naruto's mind. No, why do you want to learn from me? Being so formal all of a sudden made me feel quite embarrassed. Forget it. Let's beat my uncle first and then talk about it. My eldest uncle was only a teenager and talked about fate and destiny every day. Naruto expressed his incomprehension. But from the way he looked at Hinata, Naruto felt that they would have a fight sooner or later. Moreover, I am not the B Tianzue in the original work. I have no use for the mouth escape skill at all. Instead, I have used Zhou Ming's taunting skill. All he could do was to mock his uncle severely at the beginning and then defeat him. Dare you say anything about fate? From now on, I'll fight you every time I see you. Save yourself the trouble of running and getting killed in the final battle. Master Uzumaki kicked off his right foot and rushed in front of Hyuga Niji. Niji rolled his eyes and glanced at the chakra inside the yellow hair. At this moment, he seemed to see the sun. From a wide-eyed perspective, the meridians in this yellow-haired man's body are several times thicker than those of a normal person, and the amount of chakra in his body is so dazzling. If the chakra of an ordinary ninja is compared to a flame, the chakra in the yellow hair in front of you can be said to be a sun. How can this be? Why does he have so much chakra? As a genius of the Hyuga clan, he has never been so out of sorts like this moment. He didn't even react when the other party was close. The Uzumaki master came to Niji and started to try to cut him in the middle. After Niji reacted, he gently turned his arm to offset the Uzumaki master's attack. You guy, what kind of monster is this? Niji defended Naruto's attack with 3 punches and 2 kicks, shouting in shock. However, he was actually more confused than surprised. This guy has such amazing chakra. Why are you still running up to fight with me in physical skills? From the test just now, Niji discovered that Huang Mao didn't know any physical skills at all. Are you using your shortcomings to compete with your own strengths? Is this looking down on oneself? Niji became a little angry as he thought about it. He felt that Huang Mao was too arrogant. So he turned to avoid the opponent's fist, turned around, and punched the opponent's head hard. The fist in Naruto's eyes gradually enlarged, and he immediately realized that he could not avoid the punch from his uncle. Although he was not afraid of pain, being punched in the face was a very unpleasant experience. The fingertips trembled slightly, and a purple light door appeared behind Naruto. He leaned back and disappeared in place, making Niji's previous punch empty. Seeing such a scene, Niji immediately put on a defensive posture, as Byakugan was constantly searching for traces of this guy. However, at this moment, the purple light door instantly opened behind Niji, and it was difficult for Niji not to notice Naruto's dazzling chakra. It's just that Naruto was too fast. The moment he appeared, he kicked Niji hard on the butt. After countless battles with Sasuke over the years, Naruto knew how to keep his enemy off balance. Generally, when facing the enemy, their center of gravity will be slightly tilted forward so that they can be ready to attack or defend at any time. And it's very easy to disrupt this balance. Before Naruto could get out of the space door, he raised his leg and kicked Niji's butt, then opened a light door in front of Niji. Niji had no time to react when he was hit like this. He stumbled forward uncontrollably and plunged into the purple light door. Niji could only watch as he walked into the light door, followed by the uneasiness in his heart about the light door. He didn't know what would happen after entering. When Naruto saw Niji successfully kicked into the space door by him, he raised the corner of his mouth and looked very proud. This is his own move, the Whirlpool Triangle Kill. This is inspired by the Horse Triangle Kill in previous Alliance games. It's a pity that he hasn't learned his father's Flying Thunder God and Rasengan yet. Otherwise, he could throw a kunai at the space gate first, and then send the enemy to the light gate. Finally, let the kunai and the enemy's path settings be consistent, and then he would rub the ball and perform a Flying Thunder God slash. Naruto's scalp was numb just thinking about this operation. It's so handsome. But now, he could only kick the enemy into the portal, teleport to the opponent's landing point, and then accumulate strength to punch his uncle. People who are not familiar with teleportation have no time to react the moment they land. Therefore, this punch is 100% accurate. When Ningji disappeared, Naruto threw a space gate and got into it, and his position was transmitted to the location of Ningji's landing. 10 meters away, as soon as Niji walked out of the space door, he saw a dazzling chakra. It's Naruto Uzumaki. Brother, give me a serious punch. Niji's pupils dilated, knowing that he couldn't dodge, so he could only grit his teeth and trade wounds with this kid. You can make no money without losing money. He thrust his palm straight towards Huang Mao's abdomen, while Naruto's fist hit him in the face. At first, when Naruto saw his uncle's reaction, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. This guy is indeed a genius of the Hyuga clan. But in exchange for injuries, who is afraid of whom? Don't ask me to hit you in the abdomen, even 10 times. Uzumaki Naruto, won't be afraid. Just as Naruto thought this, his stomach suddenly turned, and the negative state of being too full from Ichiraka ramen just now began to show up. Naruto felt discomfort in his stomach and instantly realized something was wrong. Niji, wait. Don't. Boom. The next second, Niji was punched hard on the cheek, and his head was knocked blank. And after Naruto's abdomen was hit with acupuncture points, he couldn't hold it in any longer. Vomit. Naruto opened his mouth and vomited everything he had just eaten on Niji like a water baby. Niji, whose mind was still blank, only felt a little wet on his face. And then he smelled the smell of ramen. He subconsciously touched the strip on his face, grabbed it, and took a look. His whole body turned to stone on the spot. When Naruto saw his uncle covered in colorful vomit, he was also stunned. The scene suddenly became quiet. Hinata stood by and looked at Niji, also stunned. A few seconds later, Niji broke the quiet scene by retching. Vomit. Although the smell was not as bad as expected, the other party spit on me. Niji couldn't help but retched. He felt the stickiness on his body, and his whole body began to tremble, and he gritted his teeth and roared word by word. Uzumaki. Uzumaki. Naruto. Man, I'm going to kill you. Chapter 39. Sasuke paid a huge price to practice lightning style. The furious Niji shouted that he wanted to kill Naruto, while retching from time to time because of the vomit on his body. Seeing his embarrassed look, Naruto uncontrollably took 2 steps back and pinched his nose with his hands, showing his disgust for his uncle. Seeing that Niji was really angry, Naruto thought he should explain a little. If you don't tell the other person to calm down, you'll feel better if you say it yourself. It's not my fault. You made me vomit. But it was okay if Naruto didn't say anything. Once he said it, Niji didn't faint from anger on the spot. He took steps with difficulty, fearing that if he moved too much, the foreign object on his head would get on his face. Even Hinata, who was watching the battle from the sidelines, could feel the murderous intent in his brother. Seeing something bad, Naruto scratched his head and smiled awkwardly. Brother, it's getting late. I'll take Hinata back first. After saying that, Naruto threw out the space door without any hesitation and pulled Hinata away from the place. Niji stared at the place where Huang Mao disappeared and shouted, "Who is your uncle?" This Huang Mao has been calling him uncle since just now. Never stopped at all. The more Niji thought about it, the angrier he became, but now the yellow hair had left with Hinata. But there is nothing you can do if you get angry again. Niji slowly loosened his clenched fists and took a few deep breaths in an attempt to suppress the anger in his heart. The most important thing now is to find a place to clean up his mess. Besides, he will never agree to this marriage. On the other side, our master Naru has taken Hinata back to the Hyuga tribe. Naruto, who felt a little guilty, did not dare to open the space door at the main entrance this time, but chose the back door. He wasn't sure if his uncle had any relatives or friends who wanted to cause trouble for him. Naruto-kun, are you okay? Hinata pointed at Naruto's belly as she spoke. She was a little worried. After all, Naruto was beaten to death by his brother just now. Haha, don't worry. It's okay, no problem. Hinata's concern made him even more embarrassed. Instead of worrying about her brother, this little girl immediately cares about herself. Well, Hinata is awesome. Naruto, who was suddenly cared about, felt warm in his heart. He touched his sister-in-law Yang's head without doing anything excessive. After all, the big fox has sensed a lot of malice around him. He guessed that his action was a little too much. Hayashi jumped up and threw the cup, and a large number of Hyuga's swordsmen appeared around him, trying to chop him into pieces. After saying goodbye to Hinata, Naruto lost the space gate and returned to the woods. In the grove, Sasuke was sitting on the ground in a daze, with electric arcs flashing from time to time on his body. As for Sakura, then she sat in the corner, hugging her knees with her hands and burying her head in her knees. Judging from the frequency of her body twitching, Naruto guessed that Sakura probably spent the whole afternoon with Sasuke, hiding in a corner and secretly happy, right? Zila, before he reached Sasuke, he heard the crackling sound of electricity and the smell of burning hair. This kid isn't going to electrocute himself stupidly, is he? The original Commander Sook did use lightning style to stimulate cells in the body, but he remembered that this kind of practice should not produce a burning smell, right? Sitting down 3 places away from Sasuke, Naruto asked a few more words. What are you doing? Learn from the King of Thunder and Lightning? Practice. Sasuke still maintained the same expression as before, replied neither salty nor blandly, and then turned to look at Naruto. King of Thunder and Lightning? Oh, he's just a really cool guy. Oh, hearing that Naruto didn't want to say more, he didn't continue to ask. The two of them have been getting along like this for many years. No matter what they say or do, they basically don't need to be explained too clearly. It's all done anyway. Correct. What do you think of my method of stimulating the body with Thunder Attribute Chakra? Sasuke finally couldn't help but ask, because he seemed to have discovered something was wrong. This method of becoming stronger is based on Naruto's wind release and bloodstorm technique. And today, he was suddenly shocked by the Kakashi lightning style clone, so he wanted to try to use chakra to stimulate his body like Naruto. Incidentally, it can also increase some lightning resistance. Sasuke thinks this idea is correct, but he doesn't know what's wrong. As soon as he uses the Thunder Attribute Chakra to shock himself, the hair on his body will burn a little. Considering the outward appearance of the Uchiha clan, Sasuke managed not to let his hair get singed at all. As for why there is still a burning smell, that's unknown. I think it's okay. But you'd better ask Kakashi. He should know better than me. Naruto glanced at Sasuke's hair and was confused. Where does this burning smell come from? Okay, I'll ask tomorrow. Sasuke nodded and stopped discharging. There is no way that I have lost a little too much today. If I don't stop, I will only burn my hair, etc. I have an idea. Naruto suddenly slapped Sasuke's thigh and shouted excitedly. He may not know how to use lightning style to stimulate cells, but he knows how to use electromagnetic gun. Lightning style plus coin railgun. Who else would play kunai with those ninjas if they had this? Naruto picked up branches from the ground and started writing and drawing on the ground. Then he began to popularize electromagnetism and the principles of electromagnetic guns with Sasuke. Let me tell you about the law of electromagnetic induction first. This law, you just need to use the Thunder Attribute Chakra like this. Then that way the coin can be launched. How do you understand? Uchiha Sasuke. What was this guy talking about just now? After listening to Naruto's explanation, Sasuke felt that his brain was about to shut down. Obviously, I can understand every word he says, but why can't I understand the combination? Looking at Sasuke's blank look, Naruto immediately understood that he had just wasted his words. Then he changed it to a more understandable term. Do you know slingshot? Just think of the lightning style as a slingshot and shoot the metal out. Sasuke felt like he understood, but also felt like he didn't. Seeing that Naruto was about to get angry, he nodded. Is this very strong? More than just being strong. Naruto didn't know how to describe the power of the electromagnetic gun to this child. After all, he only understands the principle a little bit, and he has no specific idea of how much damage it can actually cause when used. Okay, I understand. Although Naruto said that this technique was difficult to understand, Sasuke believed in Naruto. By the way, why is Sakura lying there and laughing all the time? Naruto really couldn't understand how this nympho could still be happy for so long. Sasuke was silent for a while after hearing Naruto's words. After a few minutes, he spoke to Naruto. Is there a possibility? Is she crying? Chapter 40 Class 7. You're doing a bad job. After that day, Sakura finally realized how perverted her two teammates were, and she wanted to practice with Sasuke, but was criticized by him for being too weak. Sasuke's disgusted look and his knife-like words shocked Sakura even more. But the girl didn't understand what Sasuke meant at all. Sasuke, who never talks nonsense, actually wanted to tell her, with her weak constitution, she was unable to complete the tree-pounding training, let alone the weight-bearing, tree-pulling training. Even Sasuke could barely keep up with half of Naruto's progress. But after the second day, the three little ones finally received ninja forehead protectors from Kakashi and successfully became
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.